Chapter 3663. That strong sense of danger made Brad extremely uncomfortable. He looked ahead and saw Zi-Chin standing up again. Seeing that his opponent was unscathed, he shouted in shock, "You're fine after taking such a powerful attack!" The previous attack was the combined power of all of Zi-Chen's previous attacks. Yate didn't expect that Zi-Chen would be able to block it. Zi-Chen said calmly, "It's just a defensive soul technique. It's no big deal." Even so, the previous attack still caused Zi-Chen's soul to suffer a lot of damage. It was just that he didn't show it. At this moment, a violent aura surged around Zi-Chen's body. His hair moved without wind. He said coldly, "I have a move too. Let's see if you can block it." At the back, Shanya and the others were nervous. When they saw that Zi-Chen was fine, they cheered loudly. Boom! Zi-Chen's already strong aura became even more violent at this moment. Countless amounts of soul power exploded from his body. It was like a tornado that raged into the distance. In Brad's senses, the dangerous aura became even more intense. He couldn't believe that this aura was released by a level 4 cultivator. The black robe on his body began to dance, flapping loudly. His eyes turned cold. He suddenly tapped his foot. A huge tremor sounded. Smoke and dust flew up. Zi-Chen's figure disappeared from his original spot. Like a raging storm, he whistled forward. A strong pressure came head-on. Brad's expression changed. There was a rare look of fear in his eyes. He had the strength of a level 5 cultivator. Facing Zi-Chen's attack, he took the initiative to put up a defense. It was the same defensive light as before, which immediately enveloped his body. Separated by a light shield, he felt a little more at ease. At this moment, Zi-Chen closed in and slammed his palm forward. Soul manipulation technique. Countless rays of black light circled around Zi-Chen's palm, releasing a tyrannical aura. The palm print landed on the defensive barrier with a loud bang. Brad, who was extremely nervous, looked at the light shield that was still intact, and the tension on his face disappeared in an instant, replaced by disdain and ridicule. "Boy, it seems that I have overestimated you. You want to break my defense with this palm? I think you are dreaming." Zi-Chen looked at Brad, who was hiding in the light barrier, and a faint smile appeared on his face. "Is that so? It seems that you are very confident in the defense of this tortoise shell?" His eyes turned cold again, followed by a cold shout. "Soul Shake. Soul Control Skill, Soul Shock." This was a new type of soul technique, the Soul Control technique, passed down by Kata. It was similar to the Soul Shocking Light, but its power was 10 times stronger. After Zi-Chen fully activated it, a strange vibration power passed through the soul light barrier and formed a vibration frequency that entered Brad's body. In an instant, the power in his body became chaotic. His soul power was out of control, and the light shield in front of him directly collapsed. This time, it didn't turn into an attack, but directly collapsed. With the defense broken, Brad looked at Zi-Chen in front of him with eyes full of disbelief. "Pa!" Close at hand, Zi-Chen's palm landed on Brad's chest, and the strange vibration power erupted again. Brad felt that his vision was pitch black and the whole world was spinning. His body flew out, and a line of blood streaked across the air. After landing, Brad still felt that the world was spinning, and his soul was rapidly weakening. The surroundings were completely silent, so quiet that it was almost dead. A powerhouse from the Noah tribe was defeated just like that. Yate, who staggered to his feet, found it hard to accept this result. The rest of the villagers were also stunned. The soul hunters from Yate didn't make the next move. This result was too unbelievable. With his soul severely damaged, Brad had lost the ability to fight again. Zi-Chen's gaze swept across the surroundings, and he said coldly, "I can give you a chance to live. Immediately hand over all your life soul fruits and soul-devouring beasts. Otherwise, all the soul hunters in your village will die here today." Zi Chen's voice wasn't loud, but the content contained in his words carried a sharp threat. Once this village lost its soul hunters, it would quickly walk towards death. You're forcing us into a dead end, Yates said with resentment. The other villagers looked at Zi Chen as if they were looking at a demon. Zi Chen looked at Yates and said, "This is also thanks to you. Why didn't you provoke anyone for no reason? Why did you have to provoke our kata? Why? Do you think it's so easy to take away our things?" Zi Chen looked back at the crowd and said indifferently, "Since you dared to snatch our kata's things, then you should be mentally prepared to face kata's wrath. My patience is limited. If you don't agree to my proposal, then I'll leave all the life-soul fruits and soul-devouring beasts to you. I'll even leave the soul-devouring beasts that belong to us to you." The villagers were in disbelief, as if they were hallucinating. How could he be so nice as to leave everything behind? At this moment, Zi Chen continued, "However, I'll take away the lives of all the soul splitters." As soon as these words came out, the crowd was in an uproar. He was indeed a demon. He wanted to completely annihilate Yate village. Zi Chen defeated all the soul hunters in Yate by himself. He even defeated the Noah tribe's powerhouses. No one dared to resist, so everyone made their choice. Just as the villagers went home to get the life-soul fruits to redeem the lives of the soul hunters, Zi Chen walked into Yate's residence. It was obvious that the majority of the village's resources were in this place. Yate's face was filled with grief and indignation, but he didn't dare to say anything. As for the mastermind behind all this, Kabir, he had already fainted. He couldn't be counted on. 15 minutes later, Zi Chen walked out of Yate's room and met up with Shanya and the others. They had found the soul-devouring beasts that were stolen from them, and they even obtained a dozen extra soul-devouring beasts. At the same time, each of them took a lot of life-soul fruits. It could be said that they had plundered Yate village this time, and their harvest was huge. This was the main reason why Zi Chen had called them here. It wasn't to fight, but to take away all the loot. "Let's go." Zi Chen glanced at the crowd, and the group began to turn back. On the way back, everyone was very excited. Chief Zi Chen had defeated Yate village by himself, so Kata's future was naturally glorious. Compared to the excited crowd, Zi Chen wasn't in high spirits at all. This was because Noah didn't come this time, which was somewhat unexpected. What awaited Kata next would be darkness. Just as Zi Chen left with his people, someone was silently watching this scene from afar. Chapter 36:64. Are we letting them go just like that? A middle-aged man stood beside Noah and asked as he watched Zi Chen's group leave. Noah didn't answer the question and chose to remain silent. Only after Zi Chen's figure had completely disappeared did Noah open his mouth and say, "Go inside and ask about the situation. Find out what exactly happened." Behind him, a person quickly left and ran towards Arte village. Noah didn't go over, but waited in the same place. His position was hidden, and no one noticed his presence. After a while, the person returned and told him what happened in Arte. Hearing this, Noah couldn't help but frown. "So you're saying that he defeated everyone in Atri by himself?" "Yes." The person nodded. Captain Brad was also defeated by him. It's said that he only used one move when he got serious. He really does have some tricks up his sleeve, but that's what makes it interesting. Wouldn't it be too boring if you were defeated just like that? A smile appeared on Noah's face, but it was an extremely cold smile. Immediately spread the news that Kata's village was mobilized and robbed Arte. "Yes." The person turned and left. "Zi Chen, right? I'll play with you next. Asterisk, 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 asterisk on the way back." Everyone was very excited and excited. They talked and laughed along the way, especially Liang Bao. It was his first time witnessing such a battle. His blood was boiling. He glanced at Zi Chen from time to time, his eyes filled with admiration. Chin, on the other hand, was silent and didn't say a word. Although there was a reason for this incident and he was on the side of reason, Noah obviously didn't think so. This incident was a trap that he dug, and Chin had to jump into it. Sean Eyre came to Chen's side and said, "What should we do next?" As a former leader, he certainly knew that this matter wasn't so simple. Defeating the people of Arte Village wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. "Let's take it one step at a time," said Chin. The news of Kata attacking Yate spread in a short period of time, causing an uproar. However, at the beginning, almost no one dared to believe that this was true. In this region, Kata's reputation was not small. However, it was not a good reputation. Almost everyone knew that it was only a matter of time before that stubborn village was destroyed. Yat was very famous because the village was strong enough and had many soul hunters. Many people would believe that Yate had snatched Kata, but no one would believe that Kata had snatched Yate. However, as the news spread more and more, and as the Yates leader made a statement, those who didn't believe it had no choice but to believe it. During this period of time, the topic that everyone couldn't avoid was the new leader of Kata, Chin. It was this person who appeared out of nowhere and brought people to rob Yate. There were many different versions of the story, but none of them were about Yate attacking Kata first. 2 days had passed, but the people of Kata village were still excited. During these 2 days, Chen didn't arrange for anyone to go to the Noah tribe to exchange for the fated soul fruit. Clearly, he didn't want to give the Noah tribe a chance to attack. During these 2 days, he had been cultivating in his room, trying to break through as soon as possible. He believed that the Noah tribe's next move would be coming soon. At this moment, a panicked voice came from outside the door. "Chief, it's not good. There are many people outside. Even the Noah tribe is here." Chen opened his eyes, and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. "It's only been 2 days. You can't sit still anymore. Let's go and take a look." He got up and walked outside. At this moment, many people had gathered at the entrance of the village. They were all soul hunters. Some of them came from the nearby villages after hearing the news and came to join in the fun. Some of them came from the Noah tribe. Someone from Yate village had also come. It was a second realm soul hunter. The leader was an old man. He stood with his hands behind his back, and there was a hint of arrogance on his face. "Nellison, why are you here?" When Sean Eyre heard the news, he walked out of the village and recognized the old man. The old man glanced at Sean Eyre and said indifferently, "You old fart. You've become much younger, just like the rumors say." Sean Eyre's eyes showed some anger. He said, "You came to Kata just to say this?" The old man said disdainfully, "What right do you have to ask me what I'm doing here? Tell your new chief to get out here. I have something to say to him." How dare he be so disrespectful to their chief? All the villagers from Kata were angry. Sean Eyre said angrily, "How dare you be disrespectful to our chief, Nellison? Do you want to die?" As soon as he said this, there was an uproar. Obviously, no one would have thought that Sean Eyre would actually say such a thing. Nellison was not only from the Noah tribe, but he was also the former chief of the Noah tribe. Of course, at that time, the tribe was still called Nellison. "Want to die?" Nellison glanced at Sean Eyre and said mockingly, "Are you serious? Why don't you come and try?" Sean Eyre's face was very ugly. Naturally, he would not take the initiative to attack, and what he said before was just an angry remark. "It seems that you're still as cowardly as before." Nellison's eyes suddenly became cold. "I don't care if you're a coward, but how dare you call my name? Come on, break his mouth for me." As soon as his voice fell, a man came out from behind Nellison and walked toward Sean Eyre. Shania, who had already arrived at the scene, immediately walked forward. She would never let anyone hurt Grandpa Sean Eyre. The others also stared at Nellison angrily. He was simply too overbearing. Not only did he come here, but now he even wanted to beat people. "If you want to die, just do it. I'll send your bodies back." An ice-cold voice suddenly came from behind. The crowd parted, and Zichen came out. "Chief!" Seeing Zichen appear, the villagers of Kata were very excited. As for the man who was about to attack, he stopped at this time and did not take the next step. Nellison waved his hand, and he stepped back. Zichen's gaze swept across the front. There were many people who were watching the show, but it was just what he wanted. "You're the new chief of Kata, Zichen?" Nellison looked at Zichen and mocked. "You're quite arrogant, aren't you?" Zichen looked at Nellison and said indifferently, "Who do you think you are? How dare you call me by my name? You're courting death." Nellison was infuriated. Zichen, who did not want to argue with Nellison, said impatiently, "If you have something to say, just say it. If you're here to fight, I hope you've brought enough weapons." Hearing Zichen's words, Iza and Gaten in the crowd's expressions changed. The two of them thought of some unpleasant things. "You brought people to rob Arte's resources. I'm here to deliver the order of Noah's chief, ordering you to return the resources immediately and give Arte 3 times the compensation. Then you have to personally bring people to Arte's village and kneel down to apologize. Otherwise, Kata will be deprived of the right to exchange for the life spirit fruit." Nellison suppressed his anger and explained the purpose of his visit. Chapter 36-65. In this world, the fat spirit fruit was the foundation of everything. Without the fat spirit fruit, it was impossible to survive. In this area, only the Noah tribe could exchange for the life soul fruit. If Kata's right to exchange was revoked, everyone would die because of it. While the crowd was in an uproar, they finally confirmed that Kata had really robbed Yate. However, this punishment was heavy enough. Not only would they have to pay 3 times the compensation, but they would also have to kowtow and apologize. This was a great humiliation for Kata. After saying his intention, Nelson looked proud again. He looked at Zichen and said disdainfully, "You don't need me to teach you how to choose, do you? Today Yate also came. Why don't you kowtow and apologize to him first?" "Why?" Shanya said angrily. "Yate robbed us first. According to the rules, we have the right to take back what belongs to us." The crowd was in an uproar again. Those who still had doubts in their hearts finally understood the reason at this moment. Kata and Yate were very far apart. One was a famous big village, while the other was a small place where it was difficult to survive. Logically speaking, they shouldn't have crossed paths. However, Kata had robbed Yate. It turned out that it was all because Yate had attacked Kata first. If it was in the past, no one would believe Shanya because Kata couldn't even protect himself and had very little prey. Yate didn't care about them at all. However, since the change of leader, everything changed. Kata's daily harvest made many people envious. During this time, many forces were tempted, but they were afraid and didn't make a move. Who would have thought that Yate would make a move? And the tragedy was that he was robbed instead. "Nonsense. You're just a broken Kata. What resources do you have that we want? It's obvious that you were greedy and attacked us." The second realm soul hunter from Yate scolded loudly. The crowd was silent. It was clear who was right and who was wrong. What they cared about was Noah's attitude. "You're slandering us. Vern was injured by your people. He hasn't recovered yet." Shanya said angrily, "You." Before she could finish, Zichen waved his hand and interrupted her. Zichen looked at Nelson and said, "Are you sure this is Noah's message?" Nelson glanced at Zichen. "What do you think?" Zichen smiled faintly and said, "It's such an obvious right and wrong. Yet he actually asked you to pass on the message. I want to know whether Noah is an unreasonable idiot, or is he deliberately targeting our Kata?" In the crowd, many people's expressions changed. In this area, they were probably the only ones who dared to call Noah by his name and call him an idiot. "Impudent! How dare you disrespect our leader?" Nelson shouted angrily, his eyebrows furrowed. Even an idiot can tell right from wrong, but he can't. If he's not an idiot, then what is? Zi-Chen said sarcastically. Help me pass a message to Noah. Tell him that if he wants to deal with me, Zi-Chen, he can come at me. There's no need to do such despicable things behind my back. Boy, don't you dare slander our leader, Nelson said angrily. Slander? Does that idiot need my slander? Zi-Chen looked around. Noah has been targeting our kata for a long time. You've repeatedly deducted our reward for exchanging life soul fruits. Now, you're taking 8 life soul fruits a day, but you're only getting 4 life soul fruits. If this isn't intentional, then what is? The crowd was silent. Many people knew about this. Many people even deliberately split the exchanging life soul fruits several times for fear of being deducted. Zi-Chen continued, even so, we still admit it. Who asked you to be in charge of heaven's grindstone? But what happened in the end? Noah, that idiot, still wasn't satisfied. Instead, he sent Yate's people to steal our soul devourers. Yate dared to touch our resources. Isn't he courting death? Nelson wanted to say something to defend himself, but just as he opened his mouth, he was forcefully interrupted by Zi-Chen. I'm not telling you this today because I want you to help us, but because I want you to pass a message to that idiot. Tell him not to play any tricks. It's useless. I know very well what his true goal is. It's nothing more than taking away our right to exchange life, soul fruits, and making us unable to rise again, Zi-Chen said coldly. But so what if you've stopped our kata's rise? There will still be many villages rising in the future. What Noah needs to do is to constantly become stronger, not use despicable means to suppress those rising villages. Nonsense. What a load of nonsense. Zi-Chen, I really didn't expect you to be so good at distorting the truth. You were the one who stole Yate, and Noah's leader gave you a lot of tolerance because it wasn't easy for your kata. I didn't expect that not only did you not appreciate it, but you even framed our leader. Are you still human? Nelson said bitterly. That's right. You're distorting the truth. Our Yate never attacked you. The second realm soul hunter said angrily, as if he had been greatly wronged. The other people around them were silent. Although they didn't say anything, their hearts were as clear as a mirror. Nelson obviously didn't want to give Zi-Chen a chance to defend himself. He said impatiently, I've already passed the message. What's your choice? I suggest you apologize. It's not shameful to apologize when you've done something wrong. If you know you're wrong and can change, we'll respect you, even if you kneel down and apologize. Nelson looked at Zi-Chen with a mocking expression. I still have things to do. Hurry up and tell me your choice. If you want to apologize, kneel down quickly. Looking at the smug Nelson, Zi-Chen sneered. I was going to let you walk back, but since you can't wait to die, I'll let you go back one by one. As soon as he finished speaking, Zi-Chen rushed forward. How dare you attack us? You're courting death. Seeing Zi-Chen rush over, Nelson shouted angrily, Take him down! The battle broke out. The people around them who were just here to watch the show all retreated one by one, making their stance clear. Next, they watched Zi-Chen's solo performance. Nelson's people, including himself, all fell at Zi-Chen's feet in a very short period of time. There were screams all around. As far as the eye could see, none of the people brought by Nelson could stand up. They looked at Zi-Chen with eyes full of fear. The other party's battle prowess was too terrifying. Zi-Chen walked forward and came to Nelson's side. He reached out and took a small cloth bag from Nelson's chest. Inside it was the life soul fruit. Seeing Zi-Chen's action, Iza and Gatton, who were in the crowd, couldn't help but twitch their lips. Chapter 36:66. Just as Noah was deciding what to do, a person suddenly appeared in his room. It was very sudden, as if he had appeared out of thin air. It was a young man who looked extremely valiant. His eyes were bright and deep. If one looked at them for a long time, one would be lost in them. When he saw the young man who had suddenly appeared, Noah's face no longer had the shock and anger he had when he first saw him. He bowed respectfully to the young man. The young man nodded slightly as a response to Noah. "Sir, do you have any orders for me today?" Noah asked respectfully. As the strongest person in this area, Noah would never forget the scene when he first saw the young man. At that time, he thought that an assassin had come and was shocked by the young man's means. He was furious and attacked decisively. However, in just one move, he, the strongest person, fell to the ground and lost his power. He was at the mercy of the young man. At that time, boundless fear and despair emerged in his heart. Fortunately, the young man did not kill him. Instead, he was given a great opportunity. "I have already helped you suppress his realm and temporarily stopped him from growing. You have to move faster. As long as you can disband kata, I will definitely help you break through the realm," the young man said calmly. Noah's eyes were filled with joy. He patted his chest and said, "Sir, don't worry. The next step of my plan is already in progress. As long as this plan succeeds, kata will definitely be disbanded." The young man glanced at Noah and said, "I don't have much time. You better move faster." After saying that, the young man's figure disappeared into thin air like a ghost. Although Noah had seen it more than once, he was still shocked by the young man's mysterious means. "Zi-Chin, just wait for your kata to be destroyed." Noah's eyes flashed coldly as he began to issue new orders. In Kata village, Zi-Chun walked out of his room. 7 days had passed. During these 7 days, he did not stop for a moment. He had been working hard to cultivate. However, he was unable to break through the realm. It was as if an unknown force was preventing him from doing so. He could not reach the 5th realm. Kata did not have any other sources of life soul fruits. In the future, Kata would be in a difficult situation. Zi-Chen's mood was greatly affected. This was also the reason why he did not continue cultivating and left the room. Along the way, they saw some villagers. Zi-Chen nodded at them. However, the villagers seemed to be very busy. They came and went in a hurry. She didn't know what they were busy with. At this moment, Zi-Chen saw Liang Bao running away. He didn't know where he was going. "Show off your treasures!" Zi-Chen shouted. Liang Bao stopped when he heard the voice. When he saw Zi-Chen, he was very surprised. "Leader, why are you here?" Liang Bao jogged over. Zi-Chan rubbed Liang Bao's head and said, "I'm the leader. Where else can I be?" Liang Bao hurriedly explained, "Leader, that's not what I meant. What I meant was, isn't leader cultivating? Why did you come out? Shouldn't I be asking you that? Why aren't you cultivating? Why are you running around?" Zi-Chen asked. Liang Bao quickly shook his head and said, "I'm not running around. I'm just—" At this point, Liang Bao suddenly covered his mouth as if he had said something wrong. He looked around in a panic. When he didn't see anyone else, he sighed in relief. Since he was so sneaky, there was obviously something wrong. Zi-Chen asked again, "What happened?" "Nothing really." Liang Bao shook his head again and again. He was very nervous. "Oh, I didn't expect you to be so bold. You even dared to lie to the leader?" Zi-Chen looked at the nervous Liang Bao and said, "Are you going to rebel?" Liang Bao was shocked. He quickly waved his hand and said, "I didn't mean to lie to the leader. It's just that if I tell you, Sister Shan, you will definitely beat me." "Then you're not afraid that I'll beat you? Tell me, or your boat will explode." Zi-Chen's threat seemed to be very effective. Liang Bao said, "I can tell you, but you must not betray me." "Little brat, tell me, do you know what betrayal is?" Zi-Chen was so angry that he laughed. "I'm going to the neighboring village. I'm already a soul hunter, so if I work for them, they will reward me." Zi-Chen's smile froze. Seeing the leader's smile disappear, Liang Bao was shocked. He quickly explained, "Don't misunderstand, leader. We don't mean to leave. We just want to do something for Kata. Sister Shan, you said that we can't rely on the leader for everything. In this difficult time, we should do our part. Qin gently patted Liang Bao's head and said, "Go, I'll keep it a secret for you." "Leader, you're not angry, right?" Liang Bao carefully looked at Qin's face. "You're all thinking for me, the leader. Why would I be angry? Go, but remember to practice. After all, strength is the foundation of everything." Looking at Qinrou's calm expression, Liang Bao finally felt relieved. He then ran away. He had said yesterday that he would go to the neighboring village to help, but he got up a little late. Qin looked at Liang Bao's back as he left, and a warm feeling surged in his heart. At this moment, there was a noise from the village entrance. Qin heard the noise and walked forward. He saw Shanya and the others at the village entrance. With Shanya in the lead, a dozen or so soul hunters walked towards the entrance of the village, all of them looking dejected. Liang Bao, who was originally in high spirits, also followed beside him. He lowered his head and said something to Shanya dejectedly. "What happened?" Qin looked at these people and asked. Everyone was stunned and looked at each other. They didn't expect the leader to be here. No one answered. Liang Bao said, "Since the leader already knows, let's not hide it anymore." Hearing this, everyone felt even more ashamed. Shanya said, "I don't know what happened to the people in the neighboring village. They suddenly don't need our help." Shanya didn't know the reason, but Qin knew. He looked at the ashamed people and said, "You don't have to worry about the fat soul fruit. I will think of a way. Now is the best time for you to cultivate. Don't waste your time on other things." Shanya said, "But you've done enough for Kata. As a member of Kata, we want to do something for him too." The others nodded. Qin smiled. "I know, but as the leader I should stand up now. After this is over, it will be time for you to do something for Kata. I have a way to get the fat soul fruit. Don't worry." Seeing how confident the leader was, everyone nodded. Another 3 days passed. In these 3 days, no one went out to hunt. In addition, there was still no control over the distribution of the fat soul fruit. Therefore, the number of fat soul fruits accumulated by Kata had decreased significantly. Therefore, there were some rumors that were unfavorable to Qin in private. Qin knew that this was Noah's new attack. This time he didn't stop it in time. Instead, he let the situation develop. If Kata wanted to win this round, he needed to be nervous. Chapter 36-67. In the room, Brother Gu glanced at the crowd. After sorting out his thoughts, he said, "In a place like ours, if we want to survive, we have to rely on the fat soul fruit. But now that the Noah tribe no longer trades with us, what awaits us is destruction." There were more than 10 people in the room. There were soul hunters and ordinary people. They nodded in unison, agreeing with Brother G's words. Brother Gu continued. "Chief said that he would think of a way, but in fact he has no idea. He didn't go to the Noah tribe to apologize. He just stayed in his room all day to cultivate. It's said that he consumes over 100 fat soul fruits every day. I don't think he's sincere at all. He only wants to use up the last of fat soul fruits. When that happens, he, who doesn't belong to Kata, will naturally choose to leave. After all, he can survive wherever he goes. But we're different. If we leave, Kata will die." Brother Gu said agitatedly. Most importantly, the cause of this incident was Qin. He's the one who doesn't want to make peace. I think his real goal is to destroy Kata. So, while we're still alive, we have to think about our future. When danger comes, no one will care about us. We can only rely on ourselves. Brother Gus spoke passionately. The crowd below was also restless. One of them asked, "Then what should we do?" "Yeah, do you have any good ideas?" The others asked as well. The agitated Brother Gu immediately became depressed. He said, "I really don't have any good ideas now. I can only save up more fat soul fruits and try to live a little longer." Hearing these words, everyone looked at second Brother Gu with a strange gaze. The other party had a history of snatching the life soul fruit. Could it be that it would repeat itself this time? Seeing everyone's strange looks, Brother Good guessed what they were thinking. He immediately said, "What are you thinking? I've made a mistake once, and I won't make a mistake a second time. Don't worry, I won't do anything like snatching again. I still have a bottom line." Everyone believed him. As long as Zichin was still in kata, no one would dare to do anything like snatching. After the speech ended, the crowd dispersed. Brother Ge was elated as he realized that he had improved a little today. There was a speech like this every day. Those who might have been swayed by his speech had already planted the seed of leaving in their hearts. Brother Ge looked out of the window and sneered. "Everything is ready except for the east wind. As long as I can bring them out of here smoothly, I will be a big shot in the Noah tribe." Bastard! What a bastard! If I hadn't taken him in, he would have starved to death. Because second Brother Ge had given quite a number of speeches. The news had finally reached Shan-Er. When the other party heard the news, he was furious. Shanya, who was standing in front of him, didn't look good either. Kata was facing a crisis, but these natives didn't think about how to get through it. Instead, they thought about how to escape. If I had known this would happen, I would have let them die outside. Shan-Er was furious. At this moment, he thought of a problem and asked, "The chief doesn't know about this, right?" Shanya said, "I just came out of the chief's room. My intention was to test the chief to see if he knew about it. Who knew that the chief would take the initiative to tell me not to worry and to let them cause trouble?" In Shan-Er's impression, Zichin wasn't a reckless person. Even though he seemed a little unreasonable when dealing with Yate, the facts proved that Zichin was right. If they hadn't snatched Yate's life spirit fruit, they wouldn't have been able to hold on. Since Chief Zichin already knew about it and didn't give any other instructions, Shan-Er was relieved. He believed that if the chief said that he had a way to solve this problem, then he definitely had a way. Another 2 days passed. As the number of life spirit fruits in Kata's possession continued to decrease, the conflict slowly surfaced. In an instant, various discussions that should have appeared in private had also appeared in the open. Moreover, almost every day, there would be people arguing about the number of life spirit fruits distributed. Even so, Zichin still didn't appear. This made many people more and more disappointed. Just as Kata was getting more and more chaotic, the Noah tribe came again. This time it was Nelson. His injuries had clearly healed. "People of Kata, I'm here to save you." He didn't dare to enter the village. Instead, he shouted loudly outside the village. Clearly, he was afraid of Zichin. His voice was very loud, and it immediately spread throughout the village. Brother Ge heard him and shouted, "There's movement outside the village. Everyone follow me." Suddenly, all the villagers ran out of the village. Nelson stood outside the village. Other than him, there were more than 10 people. However, everyone ignored them. As long as Chief Zichin made a move, these people wouldn't be enough. Beside these people, there were large bamboo baskets covered with cloth. No one knew what was inside. The villagers looked at Nelson curiously. He looked at the increasing number of villagers with a kind smile on his face. He no longer had the arrogance from before. Inadvertently, he and Brother Ge looked at each other and made a brief eye contact. Shan-Er saw Nelson and the people and things behind him. His expression changed slightly, and he said in a deep voice, "Nelson, why are you here? Have you recovered from your injuries?" He directly pointed out the embarrassing incident last time, which was obviously a slap in the face. If it was any other time, Nelson would have been angry. However, he didn't this time. Instead, he laughed and said, "I just recovered, so I hurried over." Shan-Er had a bad feeling in his heart. Nelson must have some ulterior motive for lowering himself like this. Shan-Er vaguely guessed Nelson's intentions and said coldly, "You can leave. Kata doesn't welcome you." A cold light flashed in Nelson's eyes, but he quickly concealed it. He said, "Shan-Er, I know you used to be prejudiced against me, but this time you really misunderstood me. I know your situation, and this time I'm here to save you." Not giving Sean a chance to anger him, Nelson looked at the villagers and said, "Everyone, since the last incident, I've personally felt the arrogance and cruelty of your chief Zichin. I also know that you're suffering because of the pressure, so I've just recovered from my injuries. I'm here to give you hope." Nelson waved his hand, and the people behind him directly lifted the cloth covering the bamboo baskets, revealing the things inside. It was life spirit fruit, all of them, and there were thousands of them. Chapter 36-69. Exclamations could be heard as everyone was shocked. Thousands of faded spirit fruits were placed there. They had never seen such a huge amount of them. At this moment, everyone was staring at the life spirit fruits. Nelson, who had a panoramic view of everyone's expression, smiled faintly. "What do you mean by this?" A voice came from the shocked crowd. It was Brother Gu. He spoke at the right time, and his shocked expression was on point. Nelson smiled. "Obviously, this is prepared for you. I'm here to save you." "All of them are for us?" Brother Go asked excitedly. "That's right. But in order to save you from suffering, I've decided to invite all of you to join the Noah tribe." Nelson's words shocked the crowd even more than the life spirit fruit had been. Everyone's faces were filled with disbelief. Noah tribe was the largest tribe in this area, and countless soul hunters dreamed of joining it. Who would have thought that it would open its door for kata? "Are you telling the truth?" Brother Go asked excitedly. "The powerful Noah tribe is really willing to let us join?" Nelson shook his head. "I'm not asking you to join us. I'm sincerely inviting you to join us. Really." Brother Go was so excited that his body trembled. "But there are many ordinary people among us who have not awakened. They are not soul hunters." Nelson shook his head again. "It doesn't matter. I'm here to save you. Noah tribe welcomes you to join us." Brother Go turned around and said excitedly to the crowd, "What are you waiting for? Do you want to miss such a good opportunity? That's Noah tribe. Once you join us, you will have nothing to worry about in the future." Everyone's expression changed. "Brother Go, that's enough. If it weren't for the leader, you would have been dead." Sean scolded Brother Go. "He saved me, and I'm very grateful to him. Do I have to give my life to him?" Brother Gu pointed at the village and said, "And this time Zichin asked for it. He caused kata to be in danger. Why should we give up our lives to follow him?" When Nelson came, he did not deliberately hide his whereabouts, so he was discovered by many people. The people from the neighboring villages rushed over one by one. When Ija and the others arrived, they saw this scene. The large number of life spirit fruits shocked them. However, Ija's expression soon turned strange. Taking out so many faded soul fruits to attract them was naturally very effective. However, Ija knew Zichin very well. With so many faded soul fruits appearing, Zichan would definitely snatch them away. Without the life spirit fruit, how are you going to recruit people? Brother Go looked straight into Sean Air's eyes and did not back down at all. "If you want to die, I won't stop you, but please don't drag us down with you." He looked at the hesitant people and said, "Everyone, we are not the ones at fault this time. There is no need for us to sacrifice our lives for the mistakes of others. This is a rare opportunity. I've decided to leave kata and join the Noah tribe of my dreams." Nelson clapped his hands and said, "Noah welcomes everyone to join us. I may not have made it clear before, but as long as you come to Noah tribe, we will be a family. As long as you work for Noah tribe wholeheartedly, I can't guarantee anything else. But I can guarantee that your harvest will be 3 times more than when you were in Ka." This condition could be said to be very generous, and many people were tempted. Brother Go wanted to strike while the iron was hot and say a few words of encouragement. However, at this moment, a faint voice sounded from behind. "So, you, who just recovered from your injuries, are here to recruit people?" Hearing this voice, many villagers' faces changed. Shania and Sean Air were delighted. The leader had finally appeared. The crowd parted, and Zichen walked forward. Liang Bao followed behind Zichen. I'm not here to recruit people. I'm here to take them out of the sea of bitterness. Nelson looked at Zichen and said, Zichen, I admit that you are strong, but you are too arrogant. Kata became like this all because of you. So, I can't bear to see them die, so I can only bring the fat soul fruits here. As he spoke, Nelson pointed at the life spirit fruit behind him and boasted, Look, don't you think I'm very sincere? Izia, who was watching this scene from afar, shook his head. He thought to himself, Did you get beaten silly by Zichen last time? Are you showing off these fat soul fruits because you are worried that Zichen won't take them? You know, this lord even dared to scold Noah tribe. Taking these fat soul fruits would be a piece of cake for him. It turned out that Kata was going to be destroyed soon. Now, with so many fat soul fruits, they could last for a few more months. Izia looked to the side and saw Gatton. The two looked at each other and thought the same thing. This Nelson was an idiot. No wonder the position of chief was taken by Noah tribe. While the two looked at each other expectantly, Zichen just glanced at the fat soul fruits. He didn't look like he was going to take them. He nodded and said, There are quite a lot of fat soul fruits. It seems that you are sincere. Of course. An arrogant guy like you can't feed them. Of course. I have to be generous, Nelson said sarcastically. We are from Noah tribe, after all. In the eyes of Ija and Zichen, this kind of provocation was simply courting death. However, the two of them were taken aback once again. Zichen actually didn't get angry on the spot, and he didn't even retort. Zichen nodded and said, I see your sincerity. I will help you talk to them. Nelson was confused. He didn't understand. Zichen ignored him. He turned to the villagers and said, There is no point in saying more. If you are willing to believe me, then stay. We will get through this together. Don't worry. Since I agreed to be Kata's chief, I have never thought of leaving alone. I won't abandon you. Of course, if you don't believe me and think that there is no future here, then it is a good choice to join Noah tribe now. Zichen pointed at Gatton and said, Take him, for example. He is the first to express his stance, so he will get the most benefits. Of course, it doesn't matter if it is later. As long as you choose to join Noah tribe, you will get benefits. If you are hesitant and want to wait a few days before expressing your stance, then I'm sorry to say that not only will you get less benefits, but you will also be despised. Gatton was shocked when Zichen pointed at him. He thought that he was going to make an example out of him. Who knew that he would say something like that? Zichen finally said, So make your choice. If you are willing to stay, we will go back to the village and get through this together. If you want to leave, I wish you a good future. Chapter 3670. The thousands of faded spirit fruits that Nelson had brought could sustain Kata for a few months. Of course, Zichen understood this logic. However, he also knew that snatching these life soul fruits would push Kata and even him into the abyss. Why would Nelson, who had been beaten up, dare to provoke him again and even show off his faded spirit fruits? Zichen was not stupid. He guessed the reason immediately. At the same time, he also found out about another rule because of this, and it was that Noah didn't dare to take the initiative to attack him. Of course, if he took the initiative to provoke Noah, it would be a different story. For example, if he stole thousands of faded spirit fruits, it would give Noah a reason to start a fight. Zichen, who was in a good mood, walked out of the room and called everyone out. He looked at them and smiled. Not bad. They're more than I expected. Varn and Clark, the strongest in Katter, did not leave either. Zichen looked at them and said, Although I can't promise you a good future, I can at least make sure you don't have to worry about food and clothing in the future. As long as I am in Kata, as long as I am the leader, there will be no shortage of faded spirit fruits. Then Zichen looked at Shanair and said, Give out the faded spirit fruits as before. Don't skimp on the amount. Shan Er nodded. Zichen looked at Shanya and the other two and said, You three, don't be stingy. Take advantage of the time when you don't have to hunt to improve your battle strength. Zichen said a few more words. After he left, he looked at Liang Bao and said, Little genius, you have to work hard too. You are the hope of all of us. The little guy's face was flushed red. He nodded excitedly and answered with a heavy voice, following which everyone returned to their own residences. After listening to leader Zichen's words, everyone was completely relieved. Zichen returned to his room and continued to cultivate. Although the feeling of being suppressed by the inexplicable aura was still there, Zichen faintly felt that he was not far from breaking through. As long as he could break through, there would be a day when he could defeat Noah. When that day came, Kata would have the divine spirit heaven grind and rise completely. In Noah tribe, in Noah's room, a teenager was pointing at Noah's nose and cursing. His words were very unpleasant. As the strongest person in this area, Noah did not even dare to retort. He had really reached a state where he did not retaliate when hit or scolded. The young man's spittle flew everywhere, appearing to be extremely furious. Trash, you really are trash. You can't even deal with a mere Zichin. You think a piece of trash like you is qualified to reach the 8th level. Noah, who had been lowering his head and allowing himself to be beaten and scolded, suddenly raised his head and said, My plan was perfect, but that guy was too cunning and didn't fall for it. Otherwise, I would have killed him long ago. Looking at the angry youth, Noah hurriedly said, My men will be there tomorrow. And according to my intelligence, Kata's life soul fruit won't last much longer. It will be depleted in half a month at most. When that happens, they will have no choice but to join us. Once Kata is gone, it will naturally disband. The anger on the young man's face dissipated a little. He said indifferently, Remember what you said. If Kata is still not destroyed in half a month, I will not let you go. Do you know how much I have to pay to suppress his realm? With a wave of his big sleeve, the young man's figure disappeared. After the young man left, anger appeared on Noah's face. Zichin, I will not let you go. After your Kata disbands, I will kill you. Night fell. Zichen's door opened silently. He left Kata village under the cover of the night. In the dark night, one could not even see their own fingers. The surroundings were gloomy and there were occasional roars of beasts. In the nearby villages, almost no one dared to travel at night. Zichin arrived at Izia village and quietly snuck in. He came to the center of the village and stopped outside the largest courtyard. Izia, who was sleeping, suddenly woke up. As if he had a nightmare, his whole body was drenched in cold sweat. He took deep breaths and his breathing was rapid. But in the next moment, he held his breath and stared straight ahead. There was a figure standing 3 meters in front of him. At this time, you won't shout for help, right? Just as Iz's expression changed, a faint voice sounded. Zichin. Izia called out in a low voice. He recognized who it was and became more alert. Yes, it's me. Zichin walked to the side and pulled a stool to sit down. How long have you been here? Izia asked. In fact, he wanted to ask Zichin what he was doing here, but he changed his mind. Not long, but it's enough to kill you silently. Hearing Zichen's calm words, Iz's heart began to beat violently. Clearly, he felt as if he had just walked through the gates of hell. What are you doing here? He asked again. I want to borrow something from you. What? A soul-devouring beast in exchange for a life-soul fruit. If you agree, I will come to get it every day at this time. Ija's expression changed as he exclaimed, You want one every day? Not want, but borrow. Zichin reiterated again. If you want to exchange with me, I can also send you a soul-devouring beast. But I'm afraid you won't dare to accept it. Izia was very clear about Zichen's meaning. Now that the Noah tribe was targeting Zichin, if their Izia village suddenly brought many soul-devouring beasts to the Noah tribe, they would inevitably be targeted. Iza quickly calmed down. It turned out that Zi Chen had something to ask of him. He took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. You are now being targeted by Noah. Why should I help you? What benefits will I get if I help you? Zi Chen, who was sitting on the stool, smiled slightly. I can't give you any benefits now, but I can promise you in the future. In the future, after I defeat Noah and get the God Soul Heaven grind, not only will I double the compensation to you, but I will also waive all the rewards you need to exchange soul-devouring beasts in the future. What did you say? You want to defeat Noah? Iza jumped up from the bed and looked at Zi Chen in disbelief. Are you scared silly by Noah's targeting? You're actually spouting nonsense. Whether it's nonsense or not, you can figure it out yourself. Zi Chen smiled faintly. Think carefully about why Noah is targeting me, and you should have an answer. Oh, this soul-devouring beast will be the deposit for our deal. As long as you have a way to deal with it, I can give you as many soul-devouring beasts as you want. As he spoke, a soul light flashed in front of Zi Chen, and a soul-devouring beast appeared out of thin air. Seeing this almost like a magic trick, Iz's eyes widened in shock again. He jumped down from the bed and carefully touched the soul-devouring beast. It was real, but how did such a huge soul-devouring beast appear? Do you have a way to deal with it? Zi Chen asked. Iza shook his head and said, The soul-devouring beasts we hunt every day are limited in number. If one suddenly appears, it will be hard to explain. Then I'll keep it first. Consider this as me owing you a favor. As he spoke, a soul light flashed in front of Zi Chen, and the soul-devouring beast disappeared again. I didn't promise you. Iza stood up and said, but his eyes kept staring behind Zi Chen. He suspected that there was something fishy going on there. I believe you will definitely agree. Why? Because you're not stupid. With that, Zi Chen disappeared into the shadows. Chapter 3671. After spending almost half the night, Zi Chen went to Iza village and Gaduan village, respectively. After having a heart-to-heart talk with the two leaders, his mood improved a lot. Reducing the harvest of one soul-eating beast every day was not a big problem for the two. No one would notice, and they also gained Zi Chen's favor. Last time, Zi Chen didn't take Noah seriously in front of Nellerson, called him an idiot, and even beat everyone up. He did it on purpose for the two to see. It could be said that Zi Chen had already expected Noah's backup plan. As long as the two weren't idiots, they would definitely help him this time. As long as he could break through the suppressed realm, Zi Chen could continue to break through. At that time, it would be difficult for Noah to not lose. Early the next morning, Nellerson came again. However, no matter how he shouted, no one paid attention to him. There were no spectators today. Obviously, the people in the neighboring villages had their own lives and went hunting. On this day, Nellerson came back empty-handed, so he was naturally a little depressed. That night, Zi Chen came to Iza's room again. Iza didn't sleep today, not because he didn't want to, but because he didn't dare. Zi Chen had entered without making a sound, causing him to be shocked. After coming in, Zi Chen saw the life spirit fruits in the room. He smiled and said, It seems that you made the right choice. As he spoke, Zi Chen took away the life spirit fruits. At this point, Kata's crisis was resolved. Looking at the silent Iza, Zi Chen said again, Relax, everything is temporary. During this time, as long as you promise not to make any mistakes and do everything secretly, there will be no problem at all. Moreover, when necessary, I will secretly help you. I won't let others see the problem. After that, Zi Chen's figure disappeared. Ija sat alone in the room, his expression constantly changing. He didn't dare to say this to anyone, and no one gave him advice. He could only rely on his own decisions. However, he did not know what the future would be like. He could not see any hope at all. The reason why he decided to help Zi Chen this time was because he had heard about Zi Chen from Henry. It was as if he had descended from the sky. On the first day, he was still a cripple, but he had saved Shanya from the soul-devouring beast. On the second day, he had become a soul hunter and defeated him and Gedon. After that, he had single-handedly destroyed the powerful Arti village. The speed at which he rose to power surpassed all the other geniuses. Apart from that, it was also because of Zichen's intelligence. Because yesterday, after Zichen left, he suddenly understood why Zichen didn't rob Nelson of thousands of life soul fruits. He definitely didn't want to have a head-on conflict with Noah, at least not now. He had potential and wisdom, plus it wouldn't do him much harm. So Iza wanted to take a gamble. Of course, there was another reason in his heart that he didn't want to admit. The reason why Zichen came to him was because he had been defeated by Zichen, and he had truly felt Zichen's power. After Zichen left Iza's place, he went to Gedon's place. Everything went smoothly, and Gedon gave him the equivalent of one soul-devouring beast's life soul fruit. There were only a few dozen people in Kata, and there was still a surplus of life soul fruits. He had made preparations in advance, so he believed that Kata would be able to hold on for a long time. After returning, Zichen continued to cultivate. 2 days passed in a flash, and Zichen still hadn't broken through. He guessed that there weren't many life soul fruits left in Sean Eyre's place, so he ended his cultivation and walked out of the room. Because more than half of the people were gone, the whole kata was very quiet. Shanya was teaching the bright, treasured spirit technique, while Clark and Vern were watching from the side. Outside the village, Nelson was yelling tirelessly, and he seemed to be very unwilling to give up. Zichen sent some life soul fruits to Sean Eyre, and they could last for a few more days. Time passed, and Sean Eyre gave out a certain number of life soul fruits every day without stopping. Nelson came every day, but according to the chief, Kata's life soul fruits should have been gone long ago. Why were they still living so well? Half a month had passed Noah's estimate, and Kata was still there. The young man was obviously anxious, and he kept urging Noah to speed up. But Noah was also helpless. There was no place to exchange life soul fruits for Zichen. Kata should have collapsed long ago. He also asked around, and no one in the other villages helped him. Everything was normal. But under the increasing pressure from the young man, Noah finally became ruthless and increased the rewards of the other villages several times. This could only ensure that the other villages could barely survive, and there were almost no life soul fruits. Because of that, the villagers all began to complain and put even more effort into hunting. As a result, they ended up reaping a lot more rewards. Zichen was still refining life soul fruits without stopping. The feeling of suppression was still there, but he never gave up. As the number of life soul fruits he refined increased, Zichen clearly felt that the suppression was weakening. It was only a matter of time before he broke through. Don't hold on anymore. I know you don't have any more life soul fruits. As long as you join the Noah tribe, your rewards will be 5 times higher. Nelson was still yelling outside. This situation had been going on for more than 20 days. No one in Kata village paid attention to him. Zichen stayed in his room, refining one life soul fruit after another. The feeling of breaking through to the next level in his heart grew stronger and stronger. It seemed that breaking through the suppression was now. Therefore, he was no longer stingy with life soul fruits. He refined them crazily. By now, the number of life soul fruits he refined had exceeded the budget he had left for himself. If he continued refining, he would consume the portion he had left for everyone, but he didn't stop. This was because he had a feeling that if he couldn't break through today, his future would be even more difficult. In Kata realm, the number of life soul fruits was decreasing rapidly. Zichen's refining speed was getting faster and faster. In the Noah tribe, the youth glared at Noah and said angrily, "You bastard, you said half a month. It's already been a month. Do you know how great of a price I paid for the sake of suppressing his cultivation?" Noah was helpless. In order to suppress Kata, he had offended many villages. They couldn't even take care of Kata. Who would have thought that Kata still existed and hadn't been destroyed? He also wanted to know the reason. Looking at the furious youth, Noah could only say, "Wait a few more days. They'll be at the end of their rope. They won't be able to hold on." When the youth heard this, he wanted to slap him to death. Noah had been saying this since half a month ago. In order to suppress Zichen's realm, he had paid a great price. "Okay, I'll—" Before the young man could finish his words, his expression changed drastically. He let out an angry roar and disappeared. In Kata village, Zichen broke through the suppression and broke through to level 5. Chapter 36-73. After 2 months, Kata village was once again bathed in the rain of light, and everyone's soul power grew under the irrigation of the rain of light. A group of villagers ran out of their houses and cheered loudly. Sean Eyre looked up at the sky, watching the rain of light fall. He knew that the leader had broken through again. Moreover, every time the rain of light fell, they would be able to obtain great benefits. Take him, for example. He was once an old man whose soul power had withered. But after a few rain of light, not only did he become much younger, even his soul power had returned. Right now, he could clearly feel that his soul power had become stronger, even surpassing his peak. The cheers continued, but the most excited one was Zichen, because he obtained an additional technique. Breaking through the 5th realm, you can obtain a technique. This was a cold voice. There was no emotion in it, but it could instantly distinguish a person's gender. It was a female voice. Just when Zichen was a little confused, the rain of light suddenly changed, and 3 light balls floated in front of him. 1 bright, 2 dark. The 3 light balls floated quietly in front of Zichen, and the cold voice sounded again. "You can only choose one." Zichen immediately divided his soul power and landed on the 3 light balls one after another. One of the dimmer ones was the Heaven and Earth Soul Annihilation Technique. This was a powerful soul technique. One could tell from its name. The other one was called Wind Kill. Because he couldn't sense it in detail, Zichen could only know the name of the soul technique. As for the brightest one, it was Underworld Ghost. There were only 2 words, Underworld Ghost. "You don't have much time, quickly choose." The voice began to urge, almost not giving Zichen time to think. Underworld Ghost. However, Zichen also made his choice without hesitation, not because Underworld Ghost's light was brighter, but because the 2 words Underworld Ghost had some connection with him. Just after Zichen made his choice, the 2 dimmed light balls immediately disappeared. The speed of disappearance even gave Zichen some illusion in his mind. If he made another choice, these 2 dimmed light balls would also disappear. That bright ball of light immediately entered Zichen's sea of consciousness. Dark Ghost Technique. Zichen began to comprehend the technique. Outside, the cheers continued. Shanya broke through again and reached the 5th level. Vern and Clark also reached the 4th level. The others had also made considerable progress, and all of them were very excited. In the room, Zichen opened his eyes. He already had a general understanding of the ghost technique. He was in a good mood because the shackles on his body had completely disappeared. In this situation, he would reach Realm 6 soon. When he reached Realm 6, Zichen decided to look for Noah. When Zichen walked out of the room, all the villagers looked at him excitedly. This time, they had gained a lot of benefits. Many of them had broken through from the 1st realm to the 2nd realm, and some of the commoners had sensed the undulations of soul power. Zichen nodded at the crowd and left the village. This caused the others to be incomparably surprised. As far as they knew, leader Zichen hadn't left the village ever since he attacked Yate. No one knew that Zichen had gone to Iza and Gedon to get the life soul fruit at night. After leaving Kata, Zichen headed into the forest. Today, he wanted to try out the uniqueness of the ghost technique. In his perception, this technique was extremely extraordinary. His future was still not very optimistic because Noah's suppression of the neighboring villages was too great. Even with his secret help, The Iza and Gedon tribes had not had an easy time recently. Therefore, he had to reach the 6th level as soon as possible and then challenge Noah. When he arrived in the forest, Zichun heard the sounds of battle coming from the depths. Clearly, there were people hunting here. This was originally Kata's hunting ground. But recently, no one from Kata came, so this place was occupied by people from other villages. When Zichun walked closer, he saw that it was Iza's people. They were working together to deal with 2 soul-devouring beasts. They were surrounded by all sides and were having a hard time. The black soul light in Iza's hand turned into a blade that kept flashing, but it could not do anything to the soul-devouring beasts. The rest of the people were also panicking as they kept yelling. Looks like they were forced by the Noah tribe. Otherwise, they would not take such a risk. Zichun shook his head. Since the deal with Iza, the other party had fulfilled the agreement very well. Even if they encountered difficulties now, they did not take the initiative to cancel the agreement. Looking at the people who were having a hard time, Zichun walked forward. If their team lost a few people today, it would definitely affect their profits for the next few days. This was something Zichun did not want to see. The wind whistled, and countless leaves danced wildly, blocking everyone's sight. A dangerous aura suddenly appeared in the field. Sensing this aura, everyone's expression changed, and they all retreated. At this time, the wildly dancing leaves blocked everyone's sight, so they did not know what was going on. The wind came and went quickly. When the leaves scattered and everyone's sight returned to normal, they saw that the soul-devouring beasts that made them so embarrassed earlier had fallen to the ground, motionless. Everyone looked at each other in dismay, not knowing what had happened. Only Iza looked forward, deep in thought. Helping Iza get rid of the soul-devouring beasts was just taking advantage of the situation. Zichun's main purpose was to test the underworld ghost technique. After walking alone, Zichun began to look for the soul-devouring beasts. It was not difficult to find. After only a quarter of an hour, he found one. The moment he saw the other party, Zichun began to form a seal, and at the same time he retreated. As the seal fell, soul power gathered in front of him and turned into a small beast. The small beast was about the size of a human head and floated in front of Zichun. At first glance, it looked like a ghost, but it was obviously different. Just as Zichun was surprised by the other party's appearance, he saw the underworld ghost immediately fly forward. At this time, the soul-devouring beast had already pounced forward. The moment the 2 sides touched, the underworld ghost instantly enlarged. It was so big that it swallowed the soul-devouring beast in one bite. The soul-devouring beast disappeared. Looking at the bloated underworld ghost, Zichun was shocked speechless. It swallowed the soul-devouring beast, just like that. At this time, the underworld ghost's huge body began to twist. The underworld ghost also began to roll on the ground. The next moment, the underworld ghost's body exploded, and countless soul power surged around. The soul-devouring beast fell to the ground again, and its aura was somewhat weak. It shook its head to wake itself up. Then it stared at Zichun, its eyes extremely cold. Whoosh! It pounced at Zichun. Chapter 3674. That night, Shania could not fall asleep for a long time. The fated spirit fruit had always been a big problem for Kata's development. Although the leader had always handled things well, the hearts of Shania and the rest were still filled with worry. This worry had lasted until today, or rather, until just now. The moment she saw the fated spirit fruit, Shania's emotions were indescribably excited. All the difficulties would become a thing of the past today. That night, the 2 chiefs, Iza and Gedon, could not fall asleep for a long time, because Zichun had not come. The next morning, Shania woke up early and called all the people with soul power to go hunting in the mountains. The others were puzzled. They were still at odds with the Noah tribe, so why did they have to go hunting? Also, some people noticed that Nelson had not come for 2 days. Did the 2 sides reconcile? Some of the villagers thought so in their hearts. Shanya brought a dozen soul hunters into the mountains, including Liang Bao. It was worth mentioning that Liang Bao, who had never participated in a hunt, was already a second realm soul hunter. That day, Shanya also met Iza and the others. It was a coincidence because Iza had taken over their hunting ground. "Shanya, why are you here?" Iza asked curiously when he saw Shanya. Shanya said calmly, "This is our hunting ground. Why can't we come?" Shanya was naturally unhappy that their hunting ground had been taken over. Moreover, she did not know about the deal between Zichen and Iza, so her words were not polite. "You are not allowed to come here again." Iza was not angry, only puzzled. It was unusual that Zichen did not take the fated spirit fruit last night. Today, he saw Shanya bring people to hunt. Could it be that they had reconciled with the Noah tribe? This was the only possibility that could explain why Zichen no longer needed his fated spirit fruit. Unfortunately, Shanya would not answer this question because the chief had said that it must be kept a secret. Without getting an answer from Shanya and not daring to ask Zichen, Iza could only follow behind Shanya and watch as Shanya and the others began to hunt. Henry followed beside Iza, his expression constantly changing. When he saw that Shanya had hunted the first soul-devouring beast, his expression changed into one of shock. It was actually subdued in an instant. Even Iza was shocked. The hunt was still going on. Vern and Clark had also shown their powerful fighting strength. At the same time, both of them were Realm 4. They could definitely fight a soul-devouring beast, and win easily. How could this be? When Hanrui saw this, his face was filled with disbelief. At the same time, he was deeply regretful. In the past, Vern and Clark's combat strength was far inferior to his own. But now, the two of them had become so powerful, which made Hanrui feel very uncomfortable. If he had not chosen to leave Kata, would he have become so powerful? Iza also stopped hunting and followed behind to watch. In a short time, Kata's people had hunted more than a dozen soul-devouring beasts. After that, Shanya asked Vern to bring the soul-devouring beasts back while she continued to hunt. Obviously, Shanya was preparing to make up for all the soul-devouring beasts that she had not hunted during this time. Ija and the others who followed behind were shocked and envious at the same time. They had hunted every day and worked hard, but they could only hunt a few soul-devouring beasts. Kata, on the other hand, had hunted more than a dozen in such a short time. If this continued, it would not be a problem to hunt 100 in a day. If there was a place to exchange, Kata would rise in a very short time. What had happened? Why did Kata hunt so many soul-devouring beasts? Iza had a guess in his heart. Why did Zichen suddenly want so many soul-devouring beasts? Looking at the increasing number of soul-devouring beasts in front of them, Iza had an idea in his heart. He immediately stepped forward and said, "Shanya, you have collected a lot of soul-devouring beasts. Do you want us to help you send them back?" "No need." Shanya decisively refused. To this person who had wanted to kill her, Shanya would not have a good attitude. "Shanya, don't worry. We will send them back for free this time. We don't want any reward. Just treat it as the price for hunting here." Iza said again, "If you are willing, in the next few days, we can help you transport the soul-devouring beasts for free." Shanya's expression gradually turned cold. Naturally, she did not want to have anything to do with this guy. "We used to be friends after fighting, and we have been under a lot of pressure recently. The Noah tribe will take more than half of our harvest every day." This news had spread long ago. Shanya also knew about it. She was a little hesitant now. Iza immediately struck while the iron was hot. "Why don't I send the soul-devouring beasts back this time and ask Chief Zichen for his opinion? If he is willing, he will leave this matter to us." This was Iza's real purpose. He wanted to find a way to meet Zichen and ask him what was going on. "All right then. Clark, you go back with us." Although Shanya nodded in agreement, she was obviously still not at ease. with the fourth realm Clark following them. She believed that Iza and the others would not dare to play any tricks. Seeing that Shania agreed, Iz's face lit up. He called for everyone to hurry up. They brought the prey and headed towards Ka. Zi-Chin waited for the first batch of prey. There were a total of 13 of them. He signaled Rabin to put the prey in their original place. When Rabin went in, he found that the soul-devouring beasts were gone. He was a little confused, but did not ask. After putting down the soul-devouring beasts, he left. Zi-Chen used the underworld ghost to start devouring the soul-devouring beasts. The number of life spirit fruits left by the underworld ghost was increasing. After the last soul-devouring beast was devoured, the underworld ghost left behind more than 80 life spirit fruits. At this moment, a sound came from outside the village. There was a hint of panic. Zi-Chin walked out of the room and went to check it out. At the entrance of the village, he saw Iza and the others. They were returning with the soul-devouring beasts under Clark's signal. Zi-Chen's heart jumped. He guessed the reason. "Chief, Clark came forward and told him what happened. Hearing Clark's words, Zi-Chen nodded and said, "It's rare that they are willing to help. Quickly send the soul-devouring beasts back." Seeing that the chief was not angry, Clark finally heaved a sigh of relief. Zi-Chen looked at Isaiah and said, "Chief Isaiah is willing to help Kata. We are naturally happy. You know that we don't have many people. If the chief doesn't mind, we'll have to trouble you to transport the soul-devouring beasts in the future. Of course, we can't let the chief work for free. We will pay you." Isaiah said with a troubled expression, "It's not a problem to transport the soul-devouring beasts, but the exchange," before Aya could finish, Zi-Chen said, "There is no need. The chief just needs to bring the soul-devouring beasts back to Kata. I will arrange for the exchange." Chapter 3675. Ija looked at Zi-Chen with an excited expression. Zi-Chen nodded his head without batting an eyelid, which could be considered as an answer. He continued, "I'll have to trouble Chief Ija for the following matters." This was still a special period, so Zi-Chen didn't have much interaction with Ija. After putting all the soul-eating beasts in the room, Ija left with his people. Clark still followed Ija, but before leaving, Zi-Chen told Clark to try his best to harvest as much as possible. If Hell Ghost wanted to grow, it needed many soul-eating beasts to supplement it. After returning, Zi-Chen continued to use Hell Ghost. Ija was in a good mood because Zi-Chen's kata had completely survived this disaster, and Noah didn't notice his help. So from now on, Ija's life would become better. On this day, Ija's people helped Shania transport more than 50 soul-eating beasts back. When the sky was about to turn dark, Zi-Chen gave Ija 4 soul-eating beasts as a reward. At the same time, Zi-Chen told Ija that he didn't need to deliberately arrange for soul hunters to come tomorrow. As long as the soul-eating beasts could be transported back, even ordinary people would be fine. This was clearly the goodwill Zi-Chen could show at the moment, so Ija didn't refuse and agreed. That night, Shania and the others brought back the last batch of soul-eating beasts, a total of 15. When they were put in the room, Shania found that the original soul-eating beasts were gone. The others were extremely shocked. Where was their harvest today? Let's go. Rest well tonight. We'll continue tomorrow. Shania didn't dwell on this matter and immediately arranged for everyone to leave. After everyone left, Zi-Chen came again and continued to use Hell Ghost to devour the soul-eating beasts and obtain more fate spirit fruits. When the place was empty again, Zi-Chen returned to his room to cultivate and refine the fate spirit fruits. Early the next morning, everyone set off again. Before Shania and the others left, Zi-Chen found Shan Air first and asked him to calculate everyone's harvest every day. When the time came, everyone would be rewarded according to their contributions. On this day, Ija didn't come. 3 soul hunters and dozens of ordinary people were in charge of transporting the soul devouring beast for Kata. Zichen spent the entire day refining the life spirit fruits. As the number of soul-devouring beasts increased, the life spirit fruits grew stronger as well. After refining one soul-devouring beast, the number of life spirit fruits left behind exceeded 100, and it was still increasing. On this day, Shanya and the others had hunted more than 70 soul-devouring beasts. Zichen had also obtained close to 10,000 life spirit fruits. That night, after everyone had fallen asleep, Zichen left the room without making a sound. He went to find Gerton. Gaduin had been having a hard time recently. Now that Zichen had the life soul fruit, he naturally had to help him. In the room, Gaten became very excited when he saw Zichen. He immediately went forward to confirm the information he had gathered today. Zichen waved his hand and stopped him from speaking. There are some things that I can't tell you for the time being. Gaten was stunned and didn't know what to do. A light flashed in front of Zichen, and a large number of life spirit fruits appeared. There were more than 2,000 of them. Seeing so many life spirit fruits, Gaten was stunned again. He couldn't help but ask, "Where did you get them?" Zichen smiled and didn't answer the question. Instead, he patted Gaten's shoulder and said, "Thank you for your help during this time. So I'll give you some life spirit fruits first. Everyone's life will be better." Gaten's eyes flashed. "Ija also helped you this time, didn't he? I heard that his people are working for you and the pay is quite high." Zichen nodded and said, "That's right. Kata was able to survive until now because of the two of you. However, I don't have the strength to deal with Noah yet, so I have to be careful. Your people shouldn't have any contact with Kata for now. As for the life spirit fruits, I'll send them to you often." Gaten looked into Zichen's eyes and asked, "You really want to fight Noah?" "For the soul heaven grind, of course we have to fight," Zichen said. "It's a tradition and a rule." After Zichen left, Gaten became excited. Obviously, his suffering was not in vain. Even if Noah continued to suppress his forces, with the additional life spirit fruits provided by Zichen, Gaten would never decline. In Noah's tribe, Noah was dumbfounded. He didn't know what happened. Why did the young man leave without saying goodbye? Didn't he say that he would suppress Zichen's level for a few more days? Plus, according to his prediction, Kata, where Zichen was, would be destroyed in a few days. At first, he thought that this young man who never introduced himself had something urgent, so he decided to wait for 2 days. At the same time, he also told Nelson not to go there for a few days and let Kata's people wait for a few days. Otherwise, they would really think that he was trying to curry favor with them. However, after waiting for 3 days, the young man still didn't come back. Noah couldn't sit still anymore. This was related to whether he could advance or not, so he naturally had to be more careful. He decided to send people to Kata to have a look. What he saw gave him a fright. Kata was hiring people to transport the soul-eating beasts, and there were dozens of them every day. He even paid the people who transported the beasts very well. When Noah heard the news, he was stunned for a long time. Was Kata crazy? Without the soul heaven grind, what was the point of having so many soul-eating beasts? Go and check again. See what Zichen is trying to do. Then, Noah's people tried their best to find out. Finally, they found out that the soul-eating beasts that Kata brought had all disappeared for some reason. The place that used to be full was empty when they went in again. However, no one knew how those soul-eating beasts disappeared. "Chief, could it be that Kata's people are deliberately mystifying things? In fact, their real purpose is to use Ija to exchange for life soul fruits, so that they can survive." Looking at the frowning chief, Nellerson said, "After all, there are several soul-eating beasts. The life soul fruits they obtained are enough for Kata's people to survive." Noah tapped the table with his finger and remained silent. Nellerson said again, "Moreover, this Ija is quite bold. He actually disobeyed the chief's order and contacted Kata. He must be punished. Otherwise, where will our Noah's prestige go?" After a moment of silence, Noah said, coldly, pass down the order. Say that there are some problems with the soul heaven grind recently. It is not open to Ija. Nellerson nodded and turned to leave. Chapter 3676. The people Iza sent out to exchange for the life spirit fruits came back with the soul-eating beasts again. Their faces were filled with frustration and even despair. The god, soul heaven grindstone, was not open to the outside world. It was obviously an excuse. Iza and Kata were completely targeted by the Noah tribe. When Iza heard the news, he was obviously shocked. He immediately left everything behind and rushed to the Noah tribe to ask to see their leader. Of course, Noah would not see him. Iza only saw Nelson. Nelson sat on a high seat and glanced at Iza with disdain and mockery. Iza put down all his pride and repeatedly promised that he had nothing to do with Zichin. It was just that recently Iza's life was too tight. He had no choice but to help Kata do things that were not dangerous and get some rewards. But no matter what Iza said, no matter how much he begged and promised, Nelson sneered and did not relent. In the end, Nelson was really impatient and rewarded Iza with the word, get lost. Iza left with humiliation and unwillingness. His heart was also filled with despair. This time, the Noah tribe was obviously determined to target his village and kill one to warn the others. He was not Zichin. There was no way he could lead the villagers out of this predicament. That night, he did not go back. Instead, he went directly to Kata village to ask for Zichen's help. After hearing Iza's story, Zichin glanced at him, who was on the verge of despair, and said, "Speaking of which, Noah is targeting you because of me. If it was in the past, I wouldn't have been able to do anything. But now it's not a problem." "Really?" Iza looked at Zichin, and his eyes lit up again. Zichin patted Iza's shoulder and said, "How can it be fake? Tomorrow morning, you bring all the soul-eating beasts here. I will temporarily exchange them at 150 life spirit fruits. You will be responsible for transporting the beasts every day and will be given the same amount for the time being. When I have more freedom in the future, I will raise the price." Of course, Iza did not have any objections. He was even very happy because Zichen's price was even higher than Noah's. Ija and the others couldn't even get back half of the soul-devouring beast they brought back. The next day, the despairing Iza village welcomed the dawn. They moved their soul-eating beasts to Kata village. Then, Shan-Er gave them the life spirit fruit according to the price set by Zichin. The reward for Ija that day was also settled with the life soul fruit. The news quickly spread to the Noah tribe. The Noah tribe was shocked when they heard the news. Where did Zichin get the life soul fruit? Send more people to investigate. We must get to the bottom of this. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Shanya continued to lead the team to hunt. Zichin refined the life spirit fruit during the day and refined it at night to cultivate. After the shackles disappeared, he clearly felt that the rate of increase in his soul force had increased significantly. If he continued to develop like this, he believed that he wouldn't be far from breaking through to the 6th stage. The number of life soul fruits was also increasing slowly. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. Shanya's harvest was increasing. The number of soul-devouring beasts they hunted every day had already exceeded 100. On this day, after Shanya returned, she didn't return to her room. Instead, she went to find Zichin. Zichin was refining the last batch of soul-devouring beasts. Moreover, this place was forbidden to others. In the entire Kata village, only Shanya could come here. Seeing the underworld ghost-devouring beasts, Shanya was still shocked even though she had seen it more than once. "What's the matter?" Zichin put away the life soul fruit in front of him and glanced at Shanya. "In the past few days, we haven't gone too deep," Shanya said. Zichin stopped his hand seals and turned to look at Shanya. So, you've been hunting in the outer regions and have such a big harvest every day? Shanya nodded. Recently, the number of soul-devouring beasts has increased significantly. Most of them are in groups of 3 to 5. They seem to be coming from the inner regions. Shanya had lived here for a long time. Since she noticed the abnormality, there was clearly a problem. Has this happened before? Zichin asked. Never. Shanya shook her head. Then you must be careful when you hunt. If you need my help, send a message in advance. As Zichin spoke, he formed another hand seal and another underworld ghost appeared. The underworld ghost that appeared swallowed a soul-devouring beast next to it. This was almost an instinct of the underworld ghost. Zichin watched from the side. Shanya didn't leave immediately. The underworld ghost's body continued to roll, as if it was suffering some kind of pain. Zichin watched quietly, estimating how long it would take for the underworld ghost to disappear. Unexpectedly at this time, a powerful black light suddenly erupted from the underworld ghost's body. A vast amount of soul power surged. Its huge body instantly returned to normal and came to Zichin's side. Zichin looked at it. The underworld ghost was also looking at Zichin. Zichin saw intelligence in the underworld ghost's eyes, as if it had just been born and gained wisdom. What's going on? Shanya asked in surprise. Zichin withdrew his gaze from the underworld ghost and sighed. This is a real underworld ghost. Previously, when he and the underworld ghost looked at each other, a young soul fluctuation was transmitted into Zichin's sea of consciousness. At the same time, a familiar feeling appeared in his heart. Shanya looked at the underworld ghost in surprise. A light suddenly flew out from between the underworld ghost's eyebrows and disappeared into Zichin's body. Shanya's expression changed. Full of vigilance, soul power surrounded her body. Zichin immediately waved his hand and said, "Don't do anything, I'm fine." The underworld ghost tilted its head and looked at Zichin. Its bright black eyes were very intelligent. Zichin nodded to the underworld ghost and said, "From now on we will fight together." The soul light caused the two souls to be closely connected. The underworld ghost nodded its little head in confusion, then jumped onto Zichin's shoulder, looking very happy. Shanya stood to the side, looking at this scene in surprise. Zichin said, "Let's get rid of these soul-devouring beasts first. I need the life-soul fruits." The intelligent underworld ghost immediately stepped forward and swallowed a soul-devouring beast. Its body no longer expanded, returning to its previous size. However, the soul power surging around its body became unstable, sometimes strong and sometimes weak. A moment later, soul light flew out from the underworld ghost's body, turning into life-soul fruits. This time, there were more than 200 life-soul fruits. After Zichin put away the life-soul fruits, the underworld ghost continued to refine them. After the two souls were connected, Zichin had a certain understanding of the underworld ghost. It was equivalent to the divine soul heaven's grindstone. While refining the soul-devouring beasts to obtain the life-soul fruits, it could also use the opportunity to increase his soul power. This was equivalent to Zichin having a mobile divine soul heaven's grindstone. No matter where he went in the future, he would not have to worry about not having enough life-soul fruits. In the Noah tribe, Noah, who had been waiting for accurate news for a long time, decided not to wait any longer and chose to take the initiative to attack. "Everyone follow me. Today, I will destroy Kata in one fell swoop." As the order was given, one soul hunter after another appeared on the scene, then followed Noah and headed towards Ka. Chapter 3677. More than 200 faded soul fruits floated in the air. They shone brightly, and soul power surged, forming ripples that spread out. Yugui jumped onto Zichin's shoulder. It seemed to be uncomfortable with everyone's gazes and shrunk back. The surroundings were silent, or rather, dead silent. This scene was too shocking and even beyond common sense. How could there be anything in this world other than the divine soul heaven grind that could condense fated soul fruits? The crowd couldn't see the little beast that could condense the life spirit fruit. Their gazes landed on Noah once again. They had heard the other party's righteous words clearly. The strange little beast beside Zichin could condense fated soul fruits on its own. So the so-called theft naturally did not exist. It was obvious that Noah had lied, and he had lied with all sincerity. They had also heard about the conflict between Zichin and Noah. It was said that Zichin had disregarded the rules and snatched Yate first. Judging from Noah's actions, it was obvious that it was not that simple. In the crowd, Gaduin and Ija finally understood where Zichin had obtained the fated soul fruits. Ija, in particular, had been very puzzled as to why the number of fated soul fruits Zichin had exchanged for was increasing day by day. So this was the reason. The surroundings were silent as everyone looked at Noah. Noah's expression was a little ugly. He had not expected Zichin to embarrass him in such a short time. Moreover, that little beast was equivalent to the divine soul heaven grind. It really shocked him. The excuse of theft was no longer valid. This made the killing intent behind him feel awkward. Zichin patted his cheeks gently and looked at Noah, whose expression was changing. I told you before that this was a very lousy excuse, but you didn't believe me. You had to put your face on the line to make a solemn promise. What about now? Do you feel a burning sensation on your face? Looking at the infuriated Noah, Zichin smiled disdainfully. Are you looking for another excuse? And then use this to make things difficult for me? Noah's changing expression suddenly became decisive. He snorted coldly again. I don't know what nonsense you are talking about. Previously, when I said that you stole the life soul fruit, I was referring to this spirit pet. Do you know how long it took our Noah tribe to cultivate them? How could it be stolen by you just like that? The surrounding people were all silent, but their strange expressions showed what they were thinking at this moment. It seemed that everyone was saying that this was too shameless. Zichin looked at him and said, Are you sure? Is my ghost a spirit pet of the Noah tribe? Of course. Noah said arrogantly and conceitedly, Who else in this area can cultivate such a spirit pet other than us, Noah? Zichin gave Noah a thumbs up and said, This is the first time I've seen such a shameless person. Are you sure that this is a spirit pet? Furthermore, it's Noah's spirit pet? Of course I'm sure. If not, why would we be here? Noah's eyes gradually turned cold. You actually dared to steal our Noah's things, so you must die today. Zichin sneered and said, In that case, take a look at what this is. Zichin immediately snapped his fingers, and the ghost standing on his shoulder dissipated into thin air, turning into pure soul power and disappearing. How dare you kill my spirit pet? You are courting death. Noah's body suddenly surged with a crazy killing intent as he prepared to attack. Don't be anxious. The show hasn't started yet. There are some things that an idiot like you can't even imagine. As he spoke, Zichin began to form seals. The next moment, the ghost reappeared as agile as before. Everyone widened their eyes as they watched this scene. Zichin said, This is not a spirit pet, but a special kind of soul technique. You should know about soul techniques, right? Without waiting for Noah to answer, Zichin continued, An idiot like you definitely wouldn't know. Who knows? You might find other reasons to target me. Instead of being chased and bitten by a dog like you, why don't I take the initiative and get rid of you once and for all? Zichin suddenly pointed a finger to the sky. His expression became incomparably solemn as he said loudly, As the witness of the rules, I, Zichin, in the name of Kata's leader, officially challenge Noah to determine the ownership of God's grindstone. Originally, the crowd had not recovered from the fact that the ghost was a soul technique. They did not expect to hear such a shocking challenge. For a moment, everyone's eyes fell on Zichin again. A small kata dared to challenge the strongest person in this area? Gelton's expression changed. His face was full of shock. He never thought that Zi-Chen would actually issue a challenge today. However, looking at the current situation, he was relieved. If the people of the Noa tribe swarmed up, Zi-Chen and his kata would definitely be destroyed. However, issuing a challenge was different. It could only be a battle between two leaders. When the victor was determined, the ownership of God's grindstone would also be determined. At this moment, many people's eyes began to move, finally landing on an old man on the other side of the crowd. The old man's name was Dalt. Very few people knew this name now, but 20 years ago, this was an existence comparable to Noah. At that time, Dalt was still a tribe in charge of God's grindstone. However, Noah used a challenge like today to turn the former Noah village into the Noah tribe. After obtaining God's grindstone, this tribe grew stronger for more than 20 years. The defeated Dalt tribe also became history after that battle. Right now, the same scene was happening again. Would Noah, who was in his prime, also become history? Dalt's expression was very calm as he faced the gazes of the people around him. He only looked up at the sky and muttered, "It's about time." Buzz! The sky suddenly shook, and a strong surge of soul power began to surge. In the vibrating ripples, a god's grindstone appeared in the sky. It was the one from the Noah tribe that was completely sealed because of the challenge. Next, only the winner could take it away. Looks like another cycle has arrived. Dalt let out a sigh. It was always like this. No matter how strong an existence was, there would be a day when they would grow old. Between tribes, there would always be ups and downs. Seeing that the god's grindstone that had accompanied him for more than 20 years was sealed and temporarily no longer belonged to him, an unimaginable killing intent appeared in Noah's eyes. He stared at Zi-Chen and said word by word, "Today you will definitely die." Chapter 3678. The eruption of a Realm 7 aura was extremely terrifying to everyone here. For a moment, everyone began to retreat. Because of Zi-Chen's challenge, this battle changed from a tribal battle to a personal battle. This was a rule that had been passed down for a long time, and no one could interfere. "You're courting death." Noah's voice was cold, and his black hair swayed without wind. Feeling the deep aura of the other party, Zi-Chen's expression became solemn. According to his original plan, he would only look for Noah to completely resolve this matter when he broke through to Realm 6. He didn't expect the other party to be so impatient, leaving Zi-Chen with no choice but to do this. His Realm 5 soul power surrounded him, but it was obviously weaker than Noah's. Shanya and the others, who had already retreated far away, felt the obvious difference in strength between the two parties at this moment, and they were worried. "A mere Realm 5 dares to challenge me. You're courting death." Noah's soul light flashed, and he rushed toward Zi-Chen. His speed was very fast, like a streak of black light shooting out. Exclamations came from all around again. No matter how Noah made everyone feel this time, his strength was there for all to see. He was the strongest person in this area. The strongest person. Looking at the charging Noah, Zi-Chen took a deep breath, and his soul power began to gather in his clenched fists. Under the nervous gazes of everyone, the two of them made contact for the first time. A loud boom was heard. A powerful soul fluctuation swept out in all directions, bringing with it a lot of smoke and dust. Zi-Chen's body slid backwards, retreating a few feet. In their first confrontation, Zi-Chen could clearly feel Noah's powerful strength. He was indeed worthy of being the strongest person here. But Zi-Chen was not invincible. With a tap of his foot, soul power surged out from under his feet, and several cracks appeared on the ground beneath his feet. Zi-Chen was like an arrow that had been released from a bow as he shot straight towards Noah. When he was close, he clenched his fists, and soul power surrounded his fists again. A punch came down. Soul shock. This was a soul technique recorded in the spirit control art. It was extremely powerful. Zi-chan had been teaching Shanya and the others during this time. There was a sharp whistling sound in the air, which was unusually ear-piercing. As Zi-chen's fist landed, it was as if a gust of wind was blowing in all directions. Shanya and Clark had both learned Soul Strike before. Shanya could already use it normally, while Clark had only just learned the basics. When they saw the power of Zi-chen's attack, the two were shocked. At the same time, they also felt the gap between themselves and Zi-chen. Looking at Zi-chen's attack, Noah smiled disdainfully and said, "I heard that you once countered this move of mine. Today, let me see if you are as strong as the rumors say." A beam of soul light appeared in front of them and turned into a defensive light barrier. This was the defensive technique that Brad had used before. Zi-chen's fist landed on the light shield. A huge tremor resounded. The soul power light shield was hit by a huge force and started to cave in. In the light shield, Noah sneered and said, "Your strength is not bad, but it's a pity that it's still too weak. You're dreaming if you want to break my defense." A beam of soul light flew out from his body. The sunken light shield was slowly recovering. The powerful force contained in Zi-chen's punch was also being dispelled. Whoosh! When the force on the fist was dispelled, Zi-chen immediately retreated. Then he moved forward again. This time his attack was Soul Shock. As for the soul techniques that Zi-chen had learned when he first came here, he had not used them yet. This was because there was a gap of 2 realms between them. Under such circumstances, Zi-chen did not dare to be careless at all. Moreover, he had to use his full strength in every attack. Boom! The palm print landed on the light shield, forming a strange vibration force. It seemed to penetrate the light shield and break the connection between Noah and the defensive light shield. The light shield started to tremble violently, as if it could break at any time. In the light shield, the disdain on Noah's face was receding. He realized that his opponent's strength was indeed very strong. His powerful defense was actually showing signs of collapsing. Therefore, he did not wait any longer. Instead, he shouted and directly used the second method of the defensive light shield. Just as the power of Zi-chen's palm print was about to dissipate, the light shield in front of him suddenly dispersed like a water screen. Many people thought that Zi-chen had broken through Noah's defense and were very surprised. The power of the water screen gathered in Noah's palm. A tyrannical wave spread out. He pressed his palm toward Zi-chen's chest. Zi-chen quickly blocked with his hands. His soul power turned into a defense in front of him. An equally extraordinary light shield appeared in front of Zi-chen. However, this light shield only lasted for a moment before it exploded. A powerful force shook. Zi-chen's body flew backward rapidly and landed in the distance. Cries of surprise rang out from all around. This turn of events was too quick. They had all thought that Zi-chen had the upper hand. Shanya and the others were nervous. They looked at Zi-chen worriedly. Zi-chen stood up and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were fixed on Noah. Noah was a little regretful. If the light shield had gathered more power, Zi-chen would not have just coughed up blood. He would have been seriously injured. It was a pity that Zi-chen's attack was too strange. If he had held on for a while longer, his defense might not have been able to hold on and it would have exploded in advance. Noah, who was shocked by Zi-chen's strength, did not show it on his face. He said disdainfully, "It seems that you can't even break my defense. What do you have to challenge me?" The light shield appeared once again, protecting Noah. The other party in the light shield said coldly, "I can kill you with just this one move." Zi-chen took a deep breath and rushed forward again. Noah's face was full of sarcasm. "Come on, use the move you used before again." Zi-chen approached and threw a punch through the light shield. The light shield only caved in slightly before it returned to normal. Noah laughed loudly. Again. Let's see when you'll die of exhaustion. Zi-Chin, who had retreated, rushed forward again. There was a wave of soul light in his palm. It was the soul shaker. He had used the same move before, but he had injured himself. Why would he use it now? Noah's expression was full of disdain. It seems that you only know these two moves. Just as Zi-Chen's palm was about to hit him, Zi-Chin shouted, "Underworld ghost!" The underworld ghost that had not dissipated appeared in front of Noah like a ghost. It bit at the light shield. Zi-Chin could not break through the light shield with all his strength. However, a gap appeared at this moment. Powerful soul power surged. The underworld ghost let out a scream, and its body exploded. At the same time, Noah's light shield shattered. Zi-Chen's palm landed on Noah's chest. Chapter 3679. His soul power began to vibrate, forming waves of intense fluctuations. Noah felt as if his body had suffered countless impacts, and his internal organs seemed to be displaced. Bang! His soul power vibrated out, and Noah's body flew backward. In midair, a line of blood streaked across. The surroundings immediately became incomparably quiet, and everyone looked at the scene in shock. The speed of this reversal was a little too fast. Noah's body flipped several times in midair, and then landed firmly on the ground. He looked like he was vomiting blood, but his injuries were not as serious as imagined. His originally cold expression had an additional hint of ferocity at this moment. Clearly, Zi-Chen's actions had completely infuriated him. "Brat, I'll definitely tear you into pieces today." The aura around his body became berserk once again. It was like a raging tornado as boundless soul power revolved around his body. "Ternary technique." A cold voice sounded, and 3 rays of light flew out from Noah's body, like 3 soul-binding chains flying forward. During this time, the 3 rays of light intertwined, as if forming a giant python. Looking at the incoming attack, Zi-Chin took a deep breath and slapped out again. Soul split. The giant python approached and came into contact with the palm print. There was no huge tremor, only the sound of air being torn apart. Several runes appeared in Zi-Chen's palm, like the most terrifying sharp blade in the world, directly splitting the giant python into several parts. His soul power dissipated, and the giant python disappeared. Zi-Chen's face turned slightly pale. This soul split technique was indeed powerful, but the consumption was not small. The crowd watching the battle in the distance was nervous, and at the same time they were all shocked. Both sides were clearly 2 realms apart, but they were evenly matched. Humph! Noah snorted coldly again, and said indifferently, "Let's see how many times you can block 6 directions." 6 rays of light appeared in front of Noah, twisting in midair. This time, when they turned into a giant python, there were flames burning on the surface of the python, and its power was much more terrifying than before. Facing this attack, Zi-Chen could only use Soul Split again, which was the most powerful soul technique he had mastered at present. Under Zi-Chen's perception, several streaks of soul power flew out from his palm like sharp weapons, slicing forward. However, this giant python with flames around its body was obviously much stronger than before. It was obviously impossible for the soul-splitting technique to easily split it apart. Boom! Powerful soul power erupted, causing the fire python's body to collapse. The powerful energy instantly engulfed Zi-Chen. Engulfed by the vast energy, Zi-Chen felt that he had lost control of his body and was sent flying. After landing, his body rolled a few more times. "Leader!" The people of Kata village at the back started to shout. They were very worried. Looking at Zi-Chan on the ground, Noah smiled disdainfully and said, "That's it? You're too weak." His eyes were filled with killing intent. "Next, I'll kill you in one move." Shanya, who had heard this, rushed forward. Obviously, she did not want Zichen to be killed. Sean Eyre, on the other hand, held her back tightly. Don't be impulsive. Outsiders can't interfere in this kind of battle. Are we just going to watch our leader get killed? Sean Ye's face was filled with tears. Sean Eyre shook his head and smiled bitterly. If it's just a challenge, our leader still has a glimmer of hope. But if we interfere, even that glimmer of hope will be gone. Compared to the dozens of soul hunters on Kata's side, Noah's side had a sea of soul hunters. It was clear at a glance who was stronger and who was weaker. Shanya was still unwilling, but she was no longer as impulsive as before. Because Zichen stood up again, but his face was very pale and he was much weaker. Go to hell. 9 streaks. 9 streaks of light flew out from Noah's body. This time, they directly turned into a giant fire python. The fire python was releasing a terrifying heat, and its power was even stronger than before. Facing this terrifying attack, Zichen's expression changed significantly. He crossed his hands in front of him, forming a defense. Imperial Soul Shield. Runes appeared on the light shield that was formed. The runes flickered with a bright light, causing the original defense to be strengthened by several times. The fire python approached with blazing heat, and the surrounding space was distorted. Many people in the distance were amazed, thinking that Noah was indeed the strongest in this area. His combat strength was too terrifying. Many people were shaking their heads. Obviously, they were not optimistic about Zichen. The fire python arrived, and countless flames drowned Zichen. A scream was heard. It was Zichen. Noah looked complacent. Looking at the place where countless flames were raging in front of him, he said confidently, "Humph, he's dead for sure." In the crowd, Isaiah let out a sigh, and there was a look of regret in his eyes. In his heart, he actually hoped that Zichen could win. Compared to Noah, Isaiah wanted to deal with Zichen more. Zichen was trustworthy and more affectionate. He was much better than Noah. Unfortunately, the gap between their realms was too big. Shanya covered her mouth and wept silently. Beside her, many of the villagers were crying. Even Sean Eyre had tears in his eyes. Zichen had helped them too much. Unfortunately, they could do nothing now. They could only watch Zichen die here. Noah looked up at the sealed divine soul heaven grinder and said with a smile, "You will always be mine. No one can take you away from me. Whoever dares to do anything to you must die." Suddenly, there were exclamations from all around. "He's not dead. He's not dead yet." Noah frowned slightly when he heard that and looked ahead. The flames had dispersed, and Zichen was still standing there. His aura was very weak, but he was still alive and standing. The black robe on his body emitted wisps of smoke, and there were still flames on his body. "I'm surprised that you're not dead." Noah smiled faintly and said disdainfully, "But so what? It's just one more attack." However, at that moment, a black light flashed in front of Zichen. More than 10 life spirit fruits appeared. Without hesitation, he stuffed them into his mouth. His mouth was full. Everyone looked at the scene in shock. Zichen's actions were like the reincarnation of a hungry ghost. "Do you think it's possible to break through to the next realm?" Noah guessed Zichen's thoughts. He smiled coldly and attacked again. It was still the 9 paths. The fire python appeared again. Its aura surged and drowned Zichen. Zichen let out another blood-curdling scream. Many people could not bear to look at the scene. Perhaps Zichen had already turned into ashes? At this moment, the flames dispersed. Zichen was still standing there. He was swaying but did not fall. Many people had astonished expressions on their faces. Noah also frowned, and his eyes became colder. "Go to hell!" He shouted angrily again, and used the power of the 9 paths again. It was more powerful. Zichen's body was completely enveloped in flames. Noah sneered, looking very confident. The flames disappeared. Zi-chan was still standing there. However, his aura was extremely weak. He was only a step away from death. It seems that you didn't eat the life spirit fruits at the last minute. Noah sneered. Is that enough? Zi-chen's voice was very weak. What? Noah looked at Zi-chen and said, That's enough. My goal is to kill you. Chapter 3680. Heaven is in the cycle of reincarnation. Who did God let go of? Dalt, who had once been glorious, glanced at Noah, who was in a daze, and turned to leave. He could understand Noah's state of mind because more than 20 years ago he was like Noah today. At that time he even wanted to die and felt that there was no future in life. As soon as he left, the others followed him. The crowd dispersed one after another. However, many of them glanced at Noah gloatingly before they left, especially those from the neighboring villages. During this period of time, Noah had been suppressing them too much, and they had long complained about it. Now that they no longer had the heaven-grinding spirit, everyone was naturally happy. Moreover, Kata was very close to them, so at least they could save some time on the journey. After Kata's light rain dissipated, Zi-chen found a problem. Every time he broke through, Shanya would naturally break through as well. As for Vern and Clark, they would follow closely behind, but their realms were often lower than Shanya's. At this moment, dozens of villagers were all gathered around the divine soul heaven grind, and each of them looked extremely excited. In this area, the divine soul heaven grind was the most supreme, and it indicated an unlimited future. At this moment, the divine soul heaven grind was slowly operating. During this period, the soul power from heaven and earth was crushed by the heaven grind, turning into pure energy that filled the surroundings. Zi-chen looked at the excited crowd and said with a smile, Try releasing a few soul-eating beasts. Today, Shanya had hunted several soul-eating beasts. She had used one earlier, but there were still a few left, so she took them all out. Near them, these soul-eating beasts were attracted by an inexplicable force and flew toward the top of the divine soul heaven grind. Then, the heaven grind began to accelerate, and with a strong burst of soul power, life spirit fruits appeared one after another. Seeing these life spirit fruits, Kata was in an uproar. Noah had left. He led his team back to where they came from. Although there were no fewer people this time, the people of the Noah tribe had lost their previous momentum. Everyone was dejected because they had lost the foundation of their strength. After returning to Noah, the soul power here was indeed much thinner, and this situation would continue to be the case. After returning to the tribe, Noah said coldly, Go and drive away all those trash. We, Noah, don't want trash. Obviously, he, Noah, had lost to Zi-chen both in the open and in the dark. In that case, the people he had spent so much effort to recruit would naturally be of no use. All right. Nelson immediately nodded, turned around, and ordered the people next to him. Go and get rid of those trash from Kata. Someone immediately went to carry it out. Brother Go and the others were once again met with despair. On the same day, quite a few villages began to send soul-devouring beasts over. Just as Zi-chen had said, they were free of charge for the first few days. Shan Er was specifically in charge of this matter. He was responsible for registering at the side. However, it was obvious that there were not enough people in Kata. On that day, Shanya also helped out. Early the next morning, Kata became extremely lively. People came one after another to exchange for life spirit fruits. Among them, Ija and Getten were the first to arrive. When the two of them were exchanging, they also sent many people to help. Zi-chan was chatting with the two chiefs. Suddenly, a cold voice came from outside the door. Chief, someone is coming. Hearing the cold tone of the other party, Zi-chen, who could vaguely guess the reason, said, We welcome everyone to come and exchange. The other party obviously understood Zi-chen's meaning and shouted from afar, Kata is an important place. Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter. Sir, we were wrong. We are here to apologize. A voice with soul power came from outside the village. It was Brother Gu. Zi Chen's expression did not change. He pretended not to hear. Yi Jia sneered at the side. Those idiots are no longer of any use. They were driven out. Getten also mocked. Don't you know what you're worth? The arrogant Noah doesn't put any villages in his eyes. Why would he care about you? Shan Er glanced at Zi Chen. When he saw that he did not say anything, he did not care about this matter anymore. Brother Ge and the rest stood outside. Facing the strange gazes of the passers-by, they looked very ashamed. There was a person guarding the door, looking at Brother Gu and the rest with a mocking expression. At that time, they had taken the initiative to abandon kata. Brother Gu was very ashamed. Along the way, they had tried to join other villages. After all, many of them were soul hunters. Unfortunately, no one wanted them. It was not that they did not want to, but they did not dare to. This was because everyone knew that Zi Chen was now the #1 person in this area. If they recruited this group of ungrateful people, what would they do if Zi Chen was unhappy? Zi Chen did not care about Brother Ge, but he did not chase him away either. He allowed them to apologize outside. Now that Zi Chen was the chief, the others would not say anything. In fact, many of them wanted to chase these people away because they were an eyesore. The sky was getting dark. Shanya, who had just returned from hunting, did not have a pleasant expression when she saw these people. Under the pleading eyes of Brother Gu and the rest, she led them into the village. Next, she threw all her gains into the godly soul heaven grind. That night, Brother Ge and the others stayed outside Kat. Hearing the roars of the beasts in the night, they were terrified and regretful. On the second day, Zi Chen still did not come out. He also did not say anything to these people. Brother Ji's heart was dead, but he did not want to die, so he could only stay here. 3 days had passed. They had also stayed outside for 3 days. During this time, there were not many faded soul fruits left. The anger of the villagers gradually softened and turned into pity. But even if they could not bear it, they would definitely not allow these people to join kata again. As for the others who came to exchange for faded soul fruits, they had a mocking look on their faces. Obviously, they reaped what they sowed. On the 4th day, Noah, who had not come to exchange for faded soul fruits, finally came. They brought close to 100 soul-devouring beasts with them. The team was mighty. As they moved forward, the soul hunters released a powerful aura. Obviously, they wanted to show off. After seeing Brother Ge and the rest, Nelson, who was leading the team, spat at them in disdain. Shan Er stood outside the village, blocking Noah's people. He said indifferently, "The leader has ordered that the godly soul heaven grind will not be used on Noah." Nelson stared at Shan Er and said, "Are you crazy? You said there would be an extra 10% reward, not a ban on exchange." Shan Er smiled coldly and said, "You know whether I'm crazy or not." After saying that, he turned and left. During this time, Shan Er could not help but sigh. The leader is really kind. Nelson looked at Shan Er leaving and was so angry that his face turned green. But with Zi Chen the strongest person, he naturally did not dare to force the exchange. So he left with his people. But when he left, he took Brother Ge and the rest with him. Clearly, they were not stupid. They understood Zi Chen's intention. Chapter 3681. Looking at the young man again, Noah became excited. The young man was his only hope. As long as he was willing to help him, he would be able to defeat Zi Chen and take back the god's soul heaven grind. However, after seeing the young man's cold eyes, Noah's eagerness decreased a lot. Given the young man's vast magical powers, he naturally knew what had happened. He had already lost to Zi Chen, but the young man was still willing to help him? The young man said, "Although you lost this time, it's also an opportunity for you." Noah, who had been waiting for the young man to get angry, did not expect the young man to say such a thing. He became excited again. Comprehend and refine well. Once you break through, kill Zi-Chin in the name of a challenge. The young man stretched out his finger and pointed at Noah's forehead. A beam of soul light went straight into Noah's forehead. After perceiving the content of the light entering his mind, Noah became even more excited. You're on your own. The young man's figure disappeared. Noah walked out of the room and was so excited that he wanted to do a few somersaults. This time he was really going to work. The god's soul heaven grind was gone, and Nelson had brought people to exchange for the life soul fruit. Noah was furious at the thought of being deliberately targeted by Zi-Chin. For the past few decades, the one who had played this role had always been Noah. He could target whoever he wanted and suppress any force he wanted, and that force would never be able to recover from the setback. Now, Noah was the one being targeted, and he was the only force that was targeted. Zi-Chin, just you wait. When I break through, it'll be the time of your death. The god's soul heaven grind will always be mine. Noah had secretly made up his mind to kill Zi-Chin. At this moment, a voice came from outside the tribe, and then Nelson and the others returned. Looking at the prey they were carrying again, Noah frowned and asked, "What's going on?" Nelson came forward and said angrily that, "Damned Zi-Chin, how dare he forbid us from exchanging? Why, didn't we agree that it would only be 10%? Does he want to go back on his word after just getting the god's soul heaven grind?" Noah's eyes became extremely cold. "That's not it." Nelson shook his head and said, "I suspect it has something to do with those people." As Nelson turned his head, he saw Brother Go and the others. They stood in the distance, silent as cicadas in winter. At this moment, they were filled with regret. If they had known this would happen, they would not have come to Noah even if they were beaten to death. Noah's gaze swept across second Brother Go and the others. "You did the right thing. Let these trash stay. Tomorrow, you can continue to bring people to exchange. If Zi-Chin still forbids us from exchanging, then these trash," Noah swiped his hand across his neck, "leave none alive." With that, he turned around and entered his room to begin cultivating. Nelson turned around and sneered at Old Man Go and the others. "You all better pray. If we can't make the deal tomorrow, then I'll throw your heads in front of Kata's door." Second Brother Go and the others were so scared that their bodies were trembling. The others were also terrified. Everyone was praying in their hearts. Kata village, the future Kata tribe. Zi-Chin walked out of his room. This room was closest to the god's soul heaven grind, so he could receive the soul power baptism at any time. Because the exchange was free these few days, Kata was particularly lively. Because there were too many people exchanging, and Kata's people were few, Iza and Gedon also came to help. Along the way, many people bowed to Zi-Chin respectfully. Zi-Chin left Kata and went straight into the hunting forest. Yu-Gue was lying on Zi-Chin's shoulder. This hunting trip was naturally to strengthen Yu-Gue. As for Kata, it was already on the right track and did not need any extra help. Not long after entering the forest, Zi-Chin encountered a soul-eating beast. Yu-Gue was the most excited. Without hesitation, it pounced forward and devoured the soul-eating beast. After devouring a soul-eating beast, Yu-Gue landed on Zi-Chin's shoulder again. The soul power around it was surging, and its aura became very unstable. Zi-Chin did not drive Yu-Gue away. Yu-Gue had the ability to devour a soul-eating beast during this period of refining. Zi-Chin continued forward. He would personally deal with the soul-eating beasts he encountered along the way, and then put them into the Kata world. As he went deeper, the number of soul-eating beasts Zi-Chin encountered increased. It was far more than before. He frowned slightly. There should not be so many soul-eating beasts in this place. After going a few miles deeper, Zi-Chin heard the sounds of battle. This area was Kata's hunting area. It should be Shanya and the others. Zi-Chin walked forward, but the more he walked, the more he felt that something was wrong. The battle seemed to be exceptionally intense. Zi-Chin increased his speed and rushed forward. After arriving at the battlefield, he finally found the problem. There were close to 100 soul-eating beasts surrounding Shanya and the others. Among these soul-eating beasts, there were obviously some that were larger than before. At this moment, Shanya was leading the team to attack again and again, trying to open a gap. However, there would be a large number of soul-eating beasts surrounding them every time. They tried many times to no avail. From what Ziqin knew, soul-eating beasts mostly lived alone. It was rare to see them in groups of 3 to 5. It was even rarer to see them like this. Moreover, they seemed to be well-trained. Every time they surrounded Shanya and the others, it was just the right time. Ziqin raised his head and looked around. These soul-eating beasts were a little unusual. Finally, he found something unusual on a high ground. There was a soul-eating beast overlooking the battlefield. Its eyes were cold, but it did not have the brutality of the other soul-eating beasts. At first glance, Ziqin determined that there was something wrong with the other party. Hence, he took the path from afar and slowly approached the other party. The soul-eating beast was slightly smaller in size. Its eyes were overlooking the battlefield. Whoosh! Suddenly, rays of soul light appeared and directly wrapped around the other party's body. During this time, Ziqin kept staring at the other party. The soul-eating beast immediately turned its head. In its cold eyes, there was an emotion other than coldness for the first time. The other party did not make a sound, but the nearby soul-eating beasts all turned their heads around. That's it. Ziqin had already determined. Hence, he quickly exerted his strength. The soul-binding chains were pulled taut, and the soul-eating beast's body that was bound immediately flew toward Ziqin. Pa! 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 Just as its body flew halfway, the other party broke free from Ziqin's soul-binding chains. Its body immediately turned in midair and fled into the distance. As for the other soul-eating beasts, they flew toward Ziqin. Chapter 3682. After swallowing the leader of the soul-devouring beasts, the other soul-devouring beasts seemed to have gone mad. They were supposed to be pouncing on Ziqin, but they immediately changed their direction and charged at Yugui. At this time, Yugui's body was fluctuating between big and small, and his soul power fluctuations were extremely strong. Obviously, after swallowing the other party, he was in a very bad state. Whoosh! 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 Soul light lingered, and dozens of soul-binding chains appeared in front of Ziqin. Like dozens of lightning bolts, they wrapped around the soul-devouring beasts. The soul-binding chains were instantly stretched, and the soul-devouring beasts were sent flying. "Little guy, come back!" Another soul-binding chain flew out and instantly wrapped around the dark ghost's body, then brought it over. Yugui landed on Ziqin's shoulder, and the soul-devouring beasts once again pounced on him. A cold light flashed in Ziqin's eyes. Instead of retreating, he rushed forward. During this time, his figure constantly changed, dodging the attacks of the soul-devouring beasts one after another. His palm was like the wind, and soul power lingered on the palm print, landing on the heads of the soul-devouring beasts. With a bang, many of the soul-devouring beasts were sent flying. After falling to the ground, they were motionless. The movement here quickly alarmed Shanya and the others. After seeing their leader appear, they were very surprised. After encountering danger, they thought of going back for help, but no matter which direction they broke out in, they would be surrounded again. Now that they saw their leader suddenly appear, they were surprised and incomparably excited. Their gradually weakened bodies seemed to have gained strength out of thin air. Their spirits were lifted and they attacked again. For a time, the soul-devouring beasts were constantly sent flying. On Ziqin's side, the battle was very fierce. The soul-devouring beasts seemed to have gone crazy, madly attacking him. Ziqin's figure constantly dodged, but there were still attacks landing on his body. On his black robe, which was obviously made of soul power, cracks appeared, and even his skin had many wounds. But his results were also very amazing. More than 20 soul-devouring beasts had fallen to the ground one after another. Without the previous soul-gnawing beast's secret command, the other soul-gnawing beast's attacks were no longer organized. Very quickly, Shanya and the others charged over and met up with Zichin. A moment later, almost half of the corpses were left behind, while the rest of the soul-devouring beasts ran away. Behind Zichin, Yugue's aura gradually stabilized. "Leader, why are you here?" When the battle was over, Clark asked excitedly. If it wasn't for Zichen's appearance, they would have been in real danger and might even have lost their lives. "I had nothing to do, so I came out for a walk. I happened to see you guys being besieged. What happened?" Zichen looked at Shanya. The other party shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. They were just hunting normally when they were suddenly ambushed. "Call for help first." Zichan pointed at the soul-gnawing beasts on the ground and said, "Bring these soul-gnawing beasts back." Varn immediately arranged for someone to deal with this matter. Shanya glanced at Zichen and said, "Leader, do you still remember what I told you a few days ago? Did you say that the number of soul-gnawing beasts here suddenly increased?" "Yes. And during this period, the number of soul-gnawing beasts is obviously increasing." Shanya said, "This kind of gathering of more than 100 soul-gnawing beasts has never happened before." Zichen thought of the soul-gnawing beast that was swallowed by Yugue. The other party could control all the soul-gnawing beasts, but where did he come from? He looked into the depths of the dense forest, where no one had ever entered. It was a mysterious place. Could it be that they came from the depths? But why would they appear here? Zichen frowned slightly. Vern led people to deal with these soul-gnawing beasts, while Zichen and Shanya continued to move into the depths. They didn't know if it was because they had killed too many soul-gnawing beasts before, but this time the two walked for a long time without finding any trace of the soul-gnawing beasts. On the same day, the two turned back and made some gains on the way back. On this day, the people of the Noah tribe came again. They also brought along a few soul hunters from Kata, but Brother Go was not there. This time, their arrival was not stopped. Obviously, Nelson really understood Zichen's meaning yesterday. Zichen respected the choice of Brother Gu and the others, so he would not blame them for leaving, but he would never accept them again. Therefore, it was best for them to continue to stay in the Noah tribe. During the exchange process, the soul hunters from Kata were very nervous, because as long as someone came out to stop them, they would lose their heads. Fortunately, the exchange went smoothly. When Zichin came back, the people of the Noah tribe had already left. At night, Zichan continued to cultivate. Yugue was resting on the bed. Ever since he came back, he had not moved at all, as if he had fallen into a deep sleep. On the second day, Zichan went out with the team to hunt soul-gnawing beasts. No one would complain about having too many life soul fruits, and as Zichen's realm increased, the number of life soul fruits he consumed every night also increased. On this day, they did not encounter the same encirclement as yesterday, but their harvest was not small. The number of soul-gnawing beasts here was beyond imagination. In the blink of an eye, 7 days passed. The free exchange for the other villages had ended, and on a new day a portion of the rewards would be deducted for the soul-gnawing beasts they brought. Of course, Ija and Gedon did not need to provide any rewards. In these 7 days, because Zichen had also joined the hunt, Kata's harvest was not small. Therefore, other than the fact that Kata was still lacking in population, it had the shadow of a tribe in every other aspect. Time passed and 7 days passed. For a full half a month, Noah had been cultivating. The soul power that surged around his body became more and more tyrannical, and finally reached a limit at a certain moment. Buzz! His soul shook, and Noah broke through from level 7 to level 8. His face was filled with excitement. Zichin, I've finally broken through. Next, it's your turn to die. Whoosh! Light flashed, and the young man's body appeared out of thin air. "Sir, I've broken through. I'll kill Zichin soon," Noah said excitedly. The young man's expression softened a little, and he said, "Not soon, but soon. To avoid any more trouble, go and kill Zichin now." Noah nodded and naturally had no objections. He did not want his divine soul to stay in Kata for one more day. This was naturally a big move, and he was ready to gather everyone. The young man waved his sleeves, and his body disappeared. Noah laughed, and his laughter spread far and wide. However, at this moment, the young man's body reappeared, and this gave Noah a fright, and his laughter stopped abruptly. The young man clearly didn't care about this. His face, which had always been cold, had a hint of panic on it at this moment. Chapter 3683. What the hell is going on? Shania stared at the scene in front of him in shock. The others had worried looks on their faces. They didn't know how Katari and the others were doing. Zichin frowned. The scene in front of him was completely out of his expectations. The soul-devouring beasts had begun to attack the village. This was simply inconceivable. At this moment, due to the existence of the light barrier, the soul-devouring beasts were circling around Kata, waiting for an opportunity to launch an attack. Zichin gazed into the distance. Under such circumstances, there must be a leader of the soul-devouring beasts secretly commanding them. As long as the leader was eliminated, the soul-devouring beasts would naturally disperse. The underworld ghost had once devoured one. Then, could it possibly find a second one? Zichin began to form a seal. As the seal fell, the underworld ghost in Kata instantly disappeared. In the next moment, it appeared beside Zichin. The little guy was very agile. Its body was surging with a tyrannical aura. During this period, it had grown quite a bit. "Little guy, look around. Are there any special soul-devouring beasts?" Zichin looked at the underworld ghost and said. The underworld ghost stared ahead. Its bright black eyes were constantly moving, as if it was looking for a target. Suddenly, its eyes lit up as it stared at a certain direction. Obviously, it had found its target. Zichin also looked in that direction. But before he could discover anything, the soul-devouring beasts behind them suddenly began to retreat. They had retreated. Shania and the others immediately rushed towards Kata. Zichin hesitated for a moment before he also walked towards Kata. He did not pursue. When he arrived outside Kata, the light released by the divine soul heaven grindstone had already dissipated. Shan Er and the others stood at the entrance of the village, looking very excited. At this moment, Zichin came before the divine soul heaven grindstone and carefully examined it. The others were still in a state of shock. Half an hour later, Ija and the others arrived at Kata. This was because there was not a single person left in the village. Moreover, the entire village had been destroyed beyond recognition. "What's going on?" Iza came to Zichin's side and asked in confusion. Zichin shook his head. Ija and the others who grew up here didn't know. So how could he, an outsider, know? Will they still come? Iza asked again. "I don't know." Zichin shook his head again. Iza hesitated and said, "I want to stay here for the time being. Is that okay?" Zichin turned to look at Iza. Ija said embarrassedly, "If those soul-devouring beasts come again, our Ija will definitely be annihilated." He had already heard from his subordinates about what had happened before. At the critical moment, the divine soul heaven grind burst out and protected Kata village, saving everyone. Ija clearly wanted to stay here and take refuge. Zichin guessed Ija's intentions, but he didn't immediately respond. He immediately separated a strand of soul power and poured it into the divine soul heaven grind. From what he knew, the divine soul heaven grind was only used to exchange for the life soul fruit. From the changes before, it was clear that the divine soul heaven grind had other uses. After his soul entered the divine soul heaven grind, the divine soul heaven grind had an obvious change. Strands of soul power vibrated out, and Zi-Chen's sea of consciousness had an additional message. Divine soul protection. This should be the protective light from before. Zi-Chen was very surprised. Zi-Chen moved his spiritual thoughts and saw a ray of light fly out from the divine soul heaven grind. It extended out in all directions, just like the light barrier before. But now, with Zi-Chen's control, the range of its expansion became even larger, far exceeding the range before. After having a general understanding of the range of the protection, Zi-Chen looked back at Ide, who had been silently waiting for a reply, and said, "By the way, inform Gatin that if he's willing, he can also bring everyone here." Iza quickly nodded, appearing very excited. Seeing him leave, Zi-Chen said, "This matter might not be resolved in a short period of time. You can build some temporary houses nearby." Iza left. In less than an hour, he brought some things that were commonly used. Gatin's people also came, and reality proved that everything was as Zi-Chen guessed. In the next 2 days, soul-devouring beasts would occasionally come and try to attack Ka. With Zi-Chen personally overseeing the situation, he led Kata, Gatin, and Iza's soul hunters to repel the soul-devouring beasts time and time again. The harvest was bountiful. Compared to Kata, the other villages suffered heavy losses. Some of the leaders who couldn't see any hope left their villages and came to Kata to seek protection. Zi-Chen didn't stop them and accepted everyone. Therefore, outside of the small Kata village, many temporary buildings appeared. Many people from different villages stayed here. They were only here temporarily and didn't really join Kata. Time passed day by day. Every day, there would be people from other villages coming here to seek protection. After 3 days, even the people from Dalt village came. Dalt used to be the owner of the God's Grindstone. It used to be a big tribe. They had many people, even though many of them died during this period. With their addition, the range of protection of the God's Grindstone was obviously not enough. Thus, everyone could only squeeze together again. According to the news that Zi-Chen heard, the entire area was ambushed by soul-devouring beasts. That meant that others would eventually come to this place. When that time came, the range of protection of the God's Grindstone would obviously not be enough. When that time came, who should he give up on? Before Zi-Chen could seriously consider this question, more villages came. They were very far away from Kata and suffered heavy losses. After the population couldn't be maintained, there were only 2 places that didn't have people. One was Yate, which Zi-Chen had looted, and the other was Noah. In these few days, the people from these 2 villages didn't even come to exchange for the life spirit fruit. Could it be that they were destroyed? Someone had such a guess. It was said that the number of soul-devouring beasts gathered at Noah was the highest. On a new day, Zi-Chen led all the soul hunters out of the protective light barrier and prepared to hunt soul-devouring beasts. In these few days, Kata had already started to exchange for the life spirit fruit for free. It even gave out life spirit fruits to those who obviously didn't have the ability to fight. All of the soul hunters followed Zi-Chen, and this allowed the team to form a hunting team that could participate in group battles. At this moment, figures suddenly appeared in front of them. There were many of them, more than 1,000 of them. After seeing these people, Zi-Chen stopped and narrowed his eyes as he looked ahead. He saw Noah, who hadn't appeared for a long time. His people led hundreds of soul-devouring beasts and walked towards Kata like a black dragon. Chapter 3684. Noah's voice was loud enough for many people to hear. In an instant, everyone's expressions changed. "I want to challenge you. Reset Heaven's Grindstone." Noah shouted again, appearing very confident. The group behind him was like a long dragon. Zi-Chen looked at him and did not respond. "Why? Are you afraid to accept the challenge?" Seeing that Zi-Chen did not respond, Noah looked even more pleased. "Looks like you already know the use of the grindstone. Then all the more I can't let you get it." Noah noticed the protective light shield in front of him and could not help but smile coldly. Seeing Noah approaching, Zichen said, "At first, I was worried that the grindstone's protective position was not enough. Since you're here, then let your people stand guard outside. When the soul-devouring beasts attack, I'll have to trouble you to block them." Zichen, is there something wrong with your head? I want to challenge you and take back the spirit grindstone. Why are you telling me to block the soul-devouring beasts? Noah looked at Zichen as if he was looking at an idiot. Challenge me? Zichen's lips curled into a smile as he asked, "What? Have you broken through to the 8th level? Cut the crap. Today is the day you die." Noah's voice was cold, and killing intent flashed in his eyes. However, in the next moment, his cold expression froze. His eyes widened as he looked at Zichen in disbelief. He cried out, "Level 7? How is this possible? How long has it been since you broke through? Why did you break through again?" He saw with his own eyes that Zichen had broken through to level 6 and defeated him at level 7. Now that he had advanced to level 8, he was confident that he could kill his opponent. However, who would have thought that Zichen would break through again and reach level 7? In the past, it took him several years to go from level 6 to level 7. However, how long did Zichen take? Behind Noah, the people who were originally full of confidence all had long faces and lost their confidence once again. Zichen could defeat Noah when he was level 6. Now that Zichen was level 7, it seemed that he would have no problem defeating Noah, who was level 8. How could this be? Looking at Zichen, who was releasing his soul power aura, Noah was completely dumbfounded. He couldn't believe what was happening. Amidst the crowd, the young man who had followed them silently had a look of astonishment on his face. He actually broke through, but I couldn't sense it at all. It seems that the rules are interfering and suppressing me. He stood in the crowd and said nothing. Actually, in his heart, he really hoped that Noah would challenge Zichen again. A level 8 against a level 7 might have a chance of winning. Even if he failed, it had nothing to do with him. Do you still want to challenge me? If you don't want to challenge it, you can stay outside the divine soul light shield from now on. You're late. The seats inside are already full. Zichen looked at Noah and said, "You guys are here to escape. You won't reject this proposal, right?" Behind Zichen, there were many soul hunters. Among these soul hunters, there were naturally many leaders, and Isaiah was one of the most inconspicuous ones. Looking at the situation in front of him, several thoughts appeared in Iz's mind. Then, as if he had made up his mind, he said in a deep voice, "I, Isaiah, am willing to disband Aya village and join Chief Zichen's tribe. I wonder if Chief is willing to accept us?" As soon as these words were spoken, it caused quite an uproar. Everyone knew that in this place, all the leaders could obtain additional benefits. This was also the reason why after they came here, even if they had to live under someone else's roof, they still maintained the existence of the village. As long as the village existed, they could obtain benefits. But once the village was disbanded, they wouldn't be able to obtain any additional benefits. Therefore, all the leaders were shocked by Iz's decisive choice. However, at this moment, in Zichen's sea of consciousness, a choice appeared. That was whether to allow Isaiah to join or not. Zichen didn't hesitate too much and nodded. Yes. A mysterious power descended from the sky. From then on, Isaiah became history. Everyone who used to be part of Isaiah became part of Kata. At this moment, the divine spirit heaven grindstone in Kata released light again. The light shield that had reached its limit expanded a little more. This scene was very surprising, and Zichen, the leader of Kata, understood another use of the divine spirit heaven grindstone at this moment. As the population increased, the protective light of the divine spirit heaven grindstone would become stronger. I, Jeltun, am also willing to join Kata. At this moment, Jeltun also made his choice. He was obviously not stupid. At this moment, whether or not everyone could survive was still a problem. How could he have the time to care about the additional rewards of the leader? Sure enough, after Zichen agreed, the protective light of the divine spirit heaven grindstone expanded again. The others also understood. One after another, 2 more villages chose to disband and join Kata. The protective light shield expanded continuously. It was almost able to accommodate the thousands of people that Noah brought with him. At this moment, the surroundings quieted down. No one was willing to join Kata. Clearly, many of the leaders were unwilling to give up the reward, even at this moment. Zichen did not force them. Instead, he looked at Noah and said, "You guys find a place yourselves. We still have to hunt." Everyone followed Zichen. During this time, Iza, Jeltun, and the others had already joined Kata. Their backs were especially straight, and they walked with their heads held high. At this moment, all the survivors in this area had gathered in Kata. At this moment, all the soul-devouring beasts started to move towards Kata. If one were to stand in the sky, they would be able to see that the soul-devouring beasts had already formed a circle and were surrounding Kata. Noah had brought a lot of people. These people were not enough to enter the protective light. Once the soul-devouring beasts attacked again, they would naturally be in the most danger. But no one was willing to change this situation, even if they knew the way. After returning that day, Shan-Er asked Zichen how to exchange for the life soul fruit for Noah. Zichen told him clearly that the exchange was free and there was no reward. In his heart, he had a feeling that something extremely dangerous was about to happen. At this moment, everyone had to be united. When Noah heard the news, he was very surprised. In his estimation, half of the hundreds of soul-devouring beasts that he brought with him would be deducted. Who knew that Zichen would not even ask for a reward? It's just a small trick to buy people's hearts. In the temporary encampment, the young man snorted and said, "He wants you to join his tribe." Noah did not say anything. It was impossible. If he was willing to join someone else's village, he would not have left Kata. On the second day, a large number of soul-devouring beasts appeared outside Kata and attacked it. Noah's people had to resist with all their might. When Zichen heard the news, he immediately rushed out. When he saw the soul-devouring beasts that were attacking, his expression changed. Chapter 3685. The number of soul-devouring beasts was beyond imagination. Noah and Yates' people were the first to bear the brunt of the attack and fought against the soul-devouring beasts. All soul hunters attack. Everyone else retreat. Noah shouted as he charged forward. Those who didn't have the ability to fight retreated back into the range of the light shield. Further back were the people from the other villages. They looked at the scene in front of them in a daze. There were simply too many soul-devouring beasts. So many that they didn't dare to go forward. Everyone, charge with me and kill the soul-devouring beasts. Zichen shouted and charged forward. Shanya and the others followed closely behind Zichen and charged out of the protective light barrier. The people from the other villages were hesitant and didn't follow immediately. At this moment, Noah and Yates' people were like a flood. They were divided into 2 groups, one large and one small. The large group retreated, and they were all ordinary people with no fighting power. The small group charged forward to resist the soul-devouring beasts' attacks. As for Zichen's people, they were like small waves in the flood. They weren't very eye-catching. After all, there were too few of them. What's wrong with these people? Ija noticed the scene behind him and couldn't help but show dissatisfaction. Obviously, most people didn't move. Zichen said, "Let's block this attack first." Shanya, who was beside him, noticed that Zichen's expression had turned cold. "Kill." In another direction, Dalt's people moved. Although they were already a village, Dalt was still a huge force. They were even bigger than Yate. After Dalter made his move, the others also started to charge one after another. Zichen had already charged out of the light barrier and fought fiercely with the soul-devouring beasts. During this time, Zi-Chen said to Yu Guo, who was lying on his shoulder, "Little guy, quickly sense the position of the leader of the soul-devouring beasts. We'll deal with it first." As he spoke, Zi-Chen's powerful soul power vibrated. The soul-devouring beasts that tried to charge at him were all sent flying. Next to him, a vacuum appeared. Shanya and the others immediately followed up and attacked the surrounding soul-gnawing beasts. One by one, the soul-gnawing beasts fell to the ground. While the battle at the front continued, another person appeared behind the soul-devouring beasts. Beside him were more than a dozen soul-devouring beasts. They stood beside this person as if they were his guards. As expected, the heaven's wrath has appeared here. This human wore a black robe, and as he looked at the battlefield, a faint smile appeared on his face. "Go, bring him back to me." Beside him, several soul-devouring beasts immediately rushed out and joined the battle. If other people saw this scene, they would definitely be very shocked because there was actually a human who could command the soul-devouring beast. This was simply inconceivable. The black-robed human silently watched the battle in front of him. "Heaven's wrath, you broke the rules first, so don't blame us for being impolite." Under his watch, the soul-devouring beast continued to charge in a certain direction. On the battlefield, Zi-Chen gradually sensed that something was wrong because most of the soul-devouring beasts were charging in Noah's direction. During this time, Yu Gui's gaze had locked onto Noah's direction several times, but he quickly moved away. "Where is the leader?" Just as Zi-Chen was puzzled, Yu Gui's gaze locked onto a target which was right in front of him. "Let's go!" Zi-Chen tapped his foot and quickly rushed forward. The soul power around his body constantly vibrated, sending the soul-devouring beasts that approached him flying. During this time, Zi-Chen noticed a soul-devouring beast. The other party's size was not large, and it was hiding among the attacking soul-devouring beasts. Zi-Chen, who was telepathically connected with Yu Guo, immediately tapped his foot and flew forward after confirming the target. Separated by dozens of soul-devouring beasts, Zi-Chen met the leader's eyes. In the other party's eyes, he saw coldness and brutality. Whoosh! 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 Dozens of soul-devouring beasts immediately leaped into the air and pounced toward Zi-Chen, who was temporarily in the air. At this moment, dozens of soul-binding chains appeared behind Zi-Chen and directly wrapped around the soul-devouring beasts. These soul-binding chains did not come from Zi-Chen, but from Shanya, who was also a Realm 7. As her soul power continued to increase, she naturally had more tricks up her sleeves. Controlling multiple soul-binding chains was the most basic, but the current effect was also the best. Those soul-devouring beasts were immediately stopped. Zi-Chen swept through the air, and when his figure landed, it was as if a storm had appeared around him. The soul-devouring beasts around him were immediately sent flying. In front of Zi-Chen, 3 feet away, was the leader of the soul-devouring beasts. Whoosh! Yu Guo, who had been impatient for a long time, teleported to the leader's side and swallowed it in one gulp. The leader of the soul-devouring beasts did not even have time to react. Then Yu Guo returned to Zi-Chen's side. It needed a period of time to refine it. Yu Guo succeeded, but Zi-Chen was in trouble because the soul-devouring beasts around him had their eyes on him at this moment. In the blink of an eye, he was heavily surrounded by the soul-devouring beasts. Only the soul-devouring beasts could be seen. Zi-Chen's figure was nowhere to be seen. In the distance, when the black-robed man saw this scene, a look of disdain flashed across his eyes. "Your eyesight is not bad, but it's a pity that you're too stupid. You're practically asking for death." Suddenly, his expression changed slightly. He saw Shanya charge forward quickly, the soul power around her body constantly surging. She killed her way to Zi-Chen's side, and wherever she passed, the eyes of the soul-devouring beasts turned red one by one, as if they had fallen into madness. This is The black-robed man, who was originally indifferent, immediately changed his expression after seeing this scene. There was even a look of shock in his eyes. Heavenly blessing. This is heavenly blessing. Heavenly blessing that is rarely seen in thousands of years. No wonder, no wonder. The black-robed man laughed loudly. He did not make any other movements, but he immediately turned his head and walked into the distance. And as he left, the soul-devouring beasts that were madly attacking one by one gave up the battle and began to retreat. The next time I come, it will be the time for you all to disappear. No matter if it's heavenly blasphemer or heavenly blessing, I want it all. The black-robed man walked away. Shanya rushed to Zichen's side, looking very worried. At this moment, a loud tremor was heard. The soul-devouring beasts that surrounded Zichen were all sent flying, and Zichen's figure appeared. Landing on the ground, the soul-devouring beasts did not attack again. Instead, they all retreated. Shanya came to Zichen's side and looked at Zichen nervously. "I'm fine." Zichen shook his head and looked at Yugue, who was lying on his shoulder. Yugue had already fallen into a deep sleep. The soul-devouring beasts began to retreat. Zichen looked back at the crowd that participated in the battle, looking at the many corpses on the ground. His expression gradually turned cold. It seems that there's a need to unify the rules. However, before Zichen could make a move, cries of agony sounded from behind. It was Noah. Chapter 3686. Boom, 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 boom. Soul hunters were sent flying one after another. "Noah, what are you doing?" One of them shouted loudly. It was a village chief. This time, Noah had directly injured 3 soul hunters of his village, greatly weakening the battle prowess of his village. Noah didn't say anything and continued to attack. "You're attacking your own people here. Aren't you afraid that Chief Zichen will chase all of Noah's people out?" The chief questioned coldly. Noah's response was a sneer. He continued to attack with full strength, accompanied by the sound of bones breaking. "Noah, you're too arrogant. Do you still have Chief Zichen in your eyes?" The chief, who didn't dare to step forward, shouted, "You dare to question Chief Zichen's authority?" The others watched coldly from the sidelines and didn't interfere. "Chief Zichen, help. Noah has gone crazy and is attacking his own people." Seeing Noah ignoring him, the chief could only shout for help. Zichen heard the commotion and was about to go over to take a look. At this moment, Dalter came to Zichen's side. The old man smiled at Zichen and said, "Chief, I want to talk to you about our Dalter joining Kata." Zichen glanced into the distance. Someone happened to block his line of sight, so he couldn't see what was happening. Zichen glanced at Dalter and nodded. "All right." After saying that, Zichen took the initiative to turn around. Dalter smiled. Chief Zichen understood his meaning. Then, the two of them walked forward to discuss Dalter's joining. In fact, there wasn't much to discuss, because it was just a matter of a sentence. Dalter disbanded and directly announced that he was joining Kata. At the back, the chief's cry for help also disappeared. After Noah had knocked the leader to the ground, his icy gaze swept across the surrounding crowd as he said indifferently, "From today onwards, all of you will scram outside and fight against the soul-devouring beast. Let our people stay inside." When the others heard this, their faces changed and they were all terrified. Letting their people go outside was simply sending them to their deaths. "Why, we were here first." A leader immediately questioned. "With this?" Noah clenched his fist and said, "If you're not convinced, then come at me. We want to find Chief Zichen. We need to seek justice," another leader said loudly. Noah's face was full of disdain as he said, "If you have the ability, then go and find him. Let's see if Zichen cares about you idiots or our powerful Noah." In the crowd, someone immediately reacted and said loudly, "I want to join Kata." Hearing this, The others finally came to their senses. "We are willing to join Kata." The corpses on the ground were a ghastly sight. There were soul hunters, as well as some ordinary people who could have survived. Noah was beating people up, but Chief Zichin did not appear for a long time. Some people had already seen the signs. They were only here to seek refuge, and Zichin had no obligation to help everyone. For example, in the face of the soul-gnawing beast crisis, what Zichin really needed was someone like Noah and his enormous power. Therefore, the leaders who came to their senses made their choice. At this moment, Zichin and Dalt had finished their discussion. "I, Dalt, am disbanded today. I will officially join Kata." As Dalt's voice fell, the Divine Soul Heaven Grindstone released light again. The Divine Soul Defense expanded again and enveloped everyone. The soul-gnawing beast that was lying motionless on the ground flew up at this moment and flew towards the Divine Soul Heaven Grindstone. They were all devoured by the Divine Soul Heaven Grindstone and turned into life spirit fruits. This stunned many leaders. One had to know that many of the life spirit fruits were their spoils of war. Now that they were all devoured by the Divine Soul Heaven Grindstone, how are they going to distribute them? Zichin walked to the front and said, "Let's deal with the corpses of our companions first. All leaders follow me. We need to discuss the future." Zichin walked towards Kata. Along the way, he saw the corpses of the ordinary people. His eyes were filled with pain. Although these people weren't from Kata and were even forces that were hostile to him in the past, these ordinary people were innocent. Zichin returned to Kata. The other leaders followed him, including Noah and Yate. Noah looked at the Divine Soul Heaven Grindstone in the center of Kata and felt very melancholy. Perhaps he would never be able to get it back. Zichin's growth was too fast. Zichin's room was very big, but it still couldn't accommodate so many leaders. Therefore, he came to an empty space. The other leaders stood beside Zichin. Ija, Gedon, and Dalt didn't come. Strictly speaking, they were no longer leaders. Zichin looked at everyone and said, "What do you all think about the current situation?" The leaders fell silent. What happened today had really frightened them. The number of soul-gnawing beasts was too much. Looking at the silent crowd, Zichin said again, or rather, "When do you all think this crisis will end?" The leaders remained silent. No one knew. Noah, who was at the side, said, "Perhaps it's when we all die." The expressions of all the leaders changed. Zichin nodded and said, "That's very possible." He looked at everyone and said, "So, at this time, what do you think is the meaning of personal gains and losses compared to life and death?" The others remained silent. Noah said impatiently, "What do you mean? Hurry up and say it. What's the point of beating around the bush?" Zichin didn't get angry. The first two people to notice the situation were actually Noah and Dalt, the two former strongest people. He said, "What I mean is very simple. Before the crisis is over, I want you all to disband and join Kata. I will be the only one in charge." The leader who had been silent all this time had a change in his expression, but he didn't say anything. Zichin continued, "I can promise you all that once the crisis is over, you can leave at any time. I won't stop you, but as long as the crisis is not over, all of you have to listen to me. Of course, if you don't want to, I will respect your opinion. From now on, immediately take your people and leave my protection area. You can rely on yourselves. I can still let you exchange for life soul fruits for free, but you are not allowed to enter my protection area." Zichin gave everyone a choice, but there was almost no suspense. Everyone chose to disband, including Noah and Yate. This was because no one had the ability to survive outside. At this point, the entire area was unified. Chapter 3687. All the villages had disappeared, and Kata had been unified. No one knew when the crisis of the soul-devouring beasts would disappear, so everyone began to build a real base. Kata began its first expansion. Yugue had been following beside Ziqin, but he seemed to be a little irritable these days. Ziqin was wholeheartedly cultivating, trying to raise his cultivation level before the next attack of the soul-devouring beasts. 2 days later, the soul-devouring beasts came again, and there were more of them this time. When the citizens of Kata saw this, they were shocked. They were only shocked, but not worried. This was because the range of the divine Soul Heaven Grindstone was large enough to protect everyone. Ziqin came to the edge of the light shield. He looked at the black mass of soul-devouring beasts and frowned slightly. His eyes were like cold lightning, sweeping forward as if he was searching for something. Behind him, all the soul hunters began to gather, whether they were willing to obey Ziqin or not. At this juncture, they could only listen to Ziqin's arrangements. All the soul-devouring beasts gathered and stood behind Ziqin. Ziqin turned to look at the crowd and said, "Noah, Clark, Vern, Shania, the 4 of you follow me and cover me. As for the rest, follow behind us in groups of 50 and guard the free passage. Make sure that the injured can be sent back as soon as possible." Behind Ziqin, the group of soul hunters responded in unison. The soul-devouring beasts at the front came to the protective light shield, and their huge bodies slammed into it. With a loud bang, the light shield began to tremble, but the soul-devouring beasts' bodies also emitted bursts of green smoke. The soul-devouring beasts screamed and retreated, but there were more soul-devouring beasts behind them, and the sound of banging could be heard through the light shield. "Kill!" Looking at the countless soul-devouring beasts in front of him, Ziqin shouted and took the lead to kill. Powerful soul power surged around him, and all the soul-devouring beasts near him were blown away. Yugue lay on Ziqin's shoulder, ignoring the soul-devouring beasts. His target was the leader. He kept looking around, searching for the other party. When Ziqin walked out, a vacuum space appeared beside him, so Noah and the others followed. During this time, the vacuum space continued to expand, allowing the team behind to catch up. When the young man mixed in the crowd saw this scene, he coldly smiled and said, "You're not stupid. You know how to act cautiously." However, when his gaze swept past Yugue, there was a trace of doubt in his eyes. Clearly, even he could not tell what that black fellow was. However, the other party was actually able to devour the soul-devouring beasts, and even find the soul-devouring beasts that had gained intelligence. This was an incredible perception. At this time, Ghost Spectre had already locked onto a direction. You discovered it so quickly. Your senses are indeed sharp. The youth who hadn't made a move yet stood within the light barrier, coldly watching the scene. Ziqin's body immediately soared into the air and flew forward. The level 8 Noah followed closely behind, his body surging with a tyrannical aura. He was like a giant beast rampaging forward. Wherever he passed, the soul-devouring beasts were instantly sent flying. After Noah cleared out an area, Ziqin landed on the ground. Accompanied by a loud tremor, he once again borrowed the force and temporarily soared into the air. At this time, Ziqin, who was in midair, had already seen the soul-devouring beast leader. The two sides looked at each other, and the other party quickly retreated, obviously sensing danger. At this time, Yugue, who had been staying on Ziqin's shoulder, quickly rushed forward. Its speed was extremely fast, comparable to teleportation, and almost instantly it was beside the leader. However, this time, it did not devour it directly. Instead, it slapped its paw, and its small claws landed on the soul-devouring beast leader's head. There was a loud bang. The leader's body was sent flying. Just as its body was in the air, the soul-binding chains wrapped around the soul-devouring beast leader's body like lightning. In the next moment, the soul-binding chains were taut, and Ziqin borrowed the force to descend. The moment he came into contact with the leader, he struck out with his palm. Soul shock. Buzz. The powerful soul power shook, and the soul-devouring beast leader lost consciousness. Ziqin's body landed on the ground, and there was a loud bang beside him. The soul-devouring beast leader also fell to the side. "Bring it back," Zichen said in a deep voice. The soul power around his body continued to vibrate, sending the soul-devouring beasts nearby flying. At this time, Yugue once again landed on Zichen's shoulder and continued to search for its target. The two of them were telepathic, and Zichen knew that there were other soul-devouring beast leaders here. Noah stepped forward, grabbed this soul-devouring beast that looked obviously different, and threw it to the back. The people who had already followed up immediately brought this soul-devouring beast to the back. Immediately after, Yugue found a second soul-devouring beast leader, so he signaled the team to start moving with him. After a while, Zichen approached the target again. With Yugue's cooperation, he successfully dealt with the second soul-devouring beast. This time, Yugue still did not devour it. The young man was still standing behind the light barrier. He was watching everything closely. After seeing Zichen find the targets one after another and successfully kill them each time, a trace of disdain appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Idiot! Do you think the intelligent, soul-devouring beasts of the soul-devouring clan are so easy to kill? They are baiting you, aren't they?" He muttered in a low voice, but no one beside him heard him. At this time, Zichen's team was getting further and further away. He had already killed 4 soul-devouring beast leaders, and now Yugue had found a 5th. This made Zichen very surprised. He did not expect that there would be so many soul-devouring beast leaders this time. "Kill!" Zichen roared and rushed forward again. During this time, he continuously attacked and sent one soul-devouring beast after another flying. Yugue's eyes were extremely cold. It was obvious that he was ready to attack. At this time, the soul-devouring beast leader actually took the initiative to attack Zichen. Facing this tyrannical soul power aura, Zichen instantly struck out with his palm, hitting the soul-devouring beast's forehead. Buzz! The 5th soul-devouring beast leader lost consciousness. At this moment, the underworld ghost beside him suddenly let out a sharp cry and quickly arrived in front of Zichen. From Yugue's voice, Zichen heard nervousness and panic, as well as a deep sense of fear. He was slightly stunned and did not sense the danger. At this time, a person suddenly appeared in front of Zichen. The other party was wearing a black robe. He struck Yugue with his palm. Boom! Yugue's body instantly exploded. The other party's palm did not decrease in power. It sounded again and imprinted on Zichen's chest. Pum! Soul power surged in Zichen's chest, and a powerful force instantly poured into his body. Zichen flew backward, a line of blood streaking across the air. Don't leave a single one alive. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.